First, they said, never again when they tagged. Then they said, once in a lifetime when Rock and John Cena fought at WrestleMania 28. And then they went back on all that again and said twice in a lifetime because this is WrestleMania 29. It's Rock versus John Cena 2, the inferior sequel, which would go on to affect every Hollywood blockbuster made starring a wrestler forevermore.
Until, very recently. In fact, it's still going on today.
It's still going on today with the insurance complications because The Rock tore his tummy off.
Yeah, which I've got some thoughts
Okay.
on when we get to that point of our discussion piece.
This is the final episode in our Rock versus John Cena series. We've done WrestleMania 27 with the worst Mania main event of all time. Of The Miz versus John Cena.
Arguably so.
At least Sid shat himself.
Yes, that's very true.
In WrestleMania 13. Then we did over on Patreon, we did Survivor Series 2011, where Rock and John Cena tagged against the threat of the awesome Truth, R-Truth and The Miz.
I'm sure they're doing big things on this show then. They were given such a huge push.
Then we did WrestleMania 28, where Rock versus John Cena happened for the first time, and they changed all that build of personal animosity to, wow, what a moment.
It's for the fans.
Then we got the rise of CM Punk. Oh, okay, so this is what this was all about. It's not just to bring in the part-timer megastar to pop a buy rate.
Or a buy right.
It's to build a star for the future. Because CM Punk turned heel, Raw 1000. That's over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk2. Punk turns heel on The Rock in the midst of his eventually long 434-day long reign. Then we did Royal Rumble 2013.
Mm-hmm.
That's when The Rock beat CM Punk.
I would say that is a good show that has the overwhelming sense of crushing inevitability about it. While you talk about all that great stuff from Raw 1000, and then Royal Rumble 2013 is like, no, it's Cena Rock, and you're going to like it.
Let's not promote Raw 1000 too much because it's also an awful show up until that great turn at the end.
What are you talking about? All the DX stuff? The ass kicker is back?
Charlie Sheen on Skype.
It's a quality episode of television.
But yeah, then we got the Elimination Chamber rematch of Punk versus Rock, which pretty decent match.
Pretty good match, yeah.
Pretty good show overall. That Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, it felt like, we're on the cusp of the Shield and CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and The Rock. I can see the next generation of WWE stars coming through. Maybe I should stick around and be a fan. Nope! Not by this show! WrestleMania 29 is just... It's like Vince is like, okay, you had your couple of months. It's my show again now. Fandango's facing Chris Jericho. Triple H is going to have a boring match with Brock Lesnar.
So boring.
It's so long.
Yeah.
And The Rock and John Cena isn't going to build anything for the future.
I got a bit of heat in the TLC where I had this in my top 10 worst WrestleManias of all time. Because the defense that I had from my esteemed panel was, oh yeah, but Punk Taker's so great. I'm like, sure it is. But it is also a show that signifies that nothing is changing in this company. And that is one good match on a show that has about 10 matches on it. And it is, and honestly, Punk Taker is an all-timer. It's so great. But the rest of this show kind of stinks.
Where was WrestleMania 30 on your worst WrestleManias?
Nowhere to be found because that show
hot
is...
take.
That show is great.
I mean, again, it's got the great Daniel Bryan stuff that they didn't plan for.
No, they didn't plan, but there is 2 Danielson matches on it,
Yep.
which makes it infinitely better than this show, which only has 1 Danielson match, and it's not very long.
Lesnar beat Taker. We all agree that's a bad idea.
Well,
Nothing happened to Cesaro after winning the Battle Royal.
That's I will give you
The
that
Shield had that rubbish squash match.
one. Incorrect. That squash match is awesome.
Anyway, we're not here. We've
Why
done WrestleMania
why didn't you
30.
pick Cena beating Bray? Like, that's the obvious one to pick of why Mania 30 is
Cena
bad.
beat Bray. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you are making my point better for me because WrestleMania 30 is hugely overrated. Right, yeah. So please go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk to watch the full series, really. And right now, I can't believe we've done this.
I've started watching the next show, and I have. I'll be honest, I'm kicking that can down the road.
Where it's a long, long road.
Oh, it's a long road.
And the can feels too big to kick.
So over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk, right now, you can watch our review of WrestleMania 32, which we picked because The Rock shows up on it and sets fire to his own name, and John Cena is also involved in that segment. So we were like, oh, that's a nice little denouement to this series that we're doing.
A denouement?
Yeah. And then...
Was he in NXT?
I think he was in Retribution.
He was trained by Bill Denouement.
Very good. Hey, that's good.
We've kicked it
everyone.
off. We've kicked it off.
It's a good start. We thought it'd be a perfect denouement, a perfect closer to this series. And then I loaded it up on Netflix and saw that it was 4 hours and 49 minutes long.
Yes. Long even by today's AEW standards, I would say. That's without a pre-show?
Yes, that is just the main card. And when I was at Raw at the O2, a few people came up to me because I posted up on my Instagram stories that I started watching, and they were like, "How far did you get in?" And I was like, "I got through the first match, and then I decided I'm going to take a break." And it's now been a few days. I've now watched another like half an hour of it or so, and I needed another break.
Just the way my schedule is, I'm going to have to watch it all in one go. On Friday afternoon.
Bearing in mind, you and I have got we've got meetings as well on Friday afternoon, so you've got to really try and... That's going to go into your Friday evening.
Yep. It's probably going to go into Sunday afternoon as well at this rate. Yeah, so that's... Is that an effective sell of a Patreon? Come and watch us have a bad time? Well, I think it is, because people like Worst Match Ever.
Yeah, and I've just watched Triple H versus Roman Reigns from WrestleMania 32 for Worst Match Ever, so I've got to watch it again for this series here. And let me tell you, that match does not get better the more you watch it.
The Cena Rock trajectory, also we've covered the kind of Triple H storyline as well, because we had the two great matches with The Undertaker. We've got the Brock Lesnar bit here, which I don't think is very good. But then, we're capping it off, I suppose, with Triple H. He's risen to the top again. He's won the championship at the Royal Rumble. He's facing Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Yeah, it's we've gone from good to bad Triple H over the course of this series.
It's and I would argue as well, this is not great Triple H on this show. I think this whole the ass kicker is back is the least believable character he's ever had. And he's had some fairly unbelievable characters in his time, and I think this is his worst character, where he can stand toe-to-toe with UFC champion Brock Lesnar because he hurt Vince McMahon.
That's... Go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, I guess.
What I love about this is just you talking about it is making you dread watching the show. You haven't even watched it yet. You might have a great time watching it. People might go to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, and you might be there being like, whoa, this should be in the list of best WrestleManias of all time. I wish it was an hour longer.
I don't think I can have the hot take that WrestleMania 30 is overrated. And I say, but hey, you know what? You know what a sleeper hit is? It's WrestleMania 32.
It's Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar. That's the one. So, WrestleMania 29. Did you watch this one live?
Yes, I would have. This has been sort of peak early adulthood wrestling fandom. So I've gotten back into wrestling at university, but then I get a job, my relationship breaks down, I'm living at home with my parents again. All I've got is wrestling. And it's indie wrestling. It's going to British indie shows. It's travelling to Sittingbourne in Kent on a Sunday afternoon to watch Michael Elgin take on this rubbish Austrian wrestler called Walter. He was rubbish.
Whatever became of him?
Yeah, there's no Gunther, I'll tell you that.
What he needs to do is get lean.
So I would plan my life around when's the next big wrestling thing. And WrestleMania is like the big fun weekend. Me and Ketamine Dan would try and go. Don't think... We're not yet at the point in wrestling where loads of indies run WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah,
That really kicks off at 30.
I think there is some here. Like Meltzer talks about this in The Observer, which we'll get into, because Ring of Honor run their show. I think Dragon Gate run a show, and New Japan run a show.
Right.
So like it is. There are more things going on. Bearing in mind, the New Japan show is actually in Japan. But the idea being that you can buy the pay-per-view and watch it if you do want to.
But like this year, for instance, in 2025, WrestleMania 41 will be in Las Vegas, but there will be a big Riot Cabaret show. There'll be a big Progress show, a big Rev Pro show, all on that same weekend, because it's like wrestling fever has overtaken the world.
Yeah, it's not.
You didn't get that back then.
No, and it's not as big. Like I feel like 2017, 2018 is when you get the real big peak of that, when indie wrestling is like super hot and like, you know, Ring of Honor can draw these massive crowds and things like that. I don't think
NXT UK.
It's pretty. I don't think it's as big now, only because WWE shut it all down, and there was a period of time when they banned that you weren't allowed to run any other wrestling shows as part of the deal for WrestleMania to be in your city, that no other wrestling shows could take place around WrestleMania weekend. Not because they don't want competition, it's because they don't want people enjoying other wrestling. They want to come to our events that we're putting on and buy our merchandise and come to our signings and pay to meet our talent, as opposed to going and watch the Young Bucks have an amazing tag match against Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin.
Because I think that's why so many people misremember WrestleMania 30 as being great, because it had that whole carnival atmosphere in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That was the first time I really remember it being a big talking point. Like, it wasn't just WrestleMania 30. People, again, mistakenly believed it was good. But also, that whole weekend, for everyone who went there, was like, oh, there was this amazing PWG show on Friday, and there was this show on Saturday.
And then we're going to get to the period of time where the NXT shows, before they started airing them as takeovers, because there's one of them they've just put up on the WWE Vault that's a pre-takeover. We're doing a takeover on this weekend that was so good that the crowd were chanting better than Mania at that show. Obviously, this is the day before WrestleMania. And Vince was at that show and reportedly was mad and angry that the crowd were chanting that it was better than WrestleMania.
So I think I definitely watched it live. I wasn't at a watch party like I was for the Royal Rumble 2013. It would have been me and Dan. I think it's just me and Dan. I just remember sort of, and retroactively I can see what was going on here. I was getting tired by the end of this show. And the previous year, I tried to complete wrestling. You know, I watched both nights of the Supercard show that Ring of Honor did. I went to a live wrestling show on a Friday. I watched WrestleMania. Like, within a 48-hour span, I think me and Dan watched 27 hours of wrestling.
Good
be
weekend.
It live or at home. And, yeah, I was like, okay, but that's probably too much. I feel like I overindulge there, but it's once a year. So this year, we're going to do it again. Yay, what a big marathon thing we're going to do. And I remember at the end, like particularly in the Triple H Brock Lesnar match, I was like, ooh, I am sleepy. And I think I nodded off a few times in Rock versus Cena.
Yeah.
Which is unthinkable to me because I was so into The Rock at this point. Well, at least I thought I was. Yeah. Now I look back and I'm like, was I into... I am into The Rock, definitely. But at this time, was I more into The Rock and Punk and The Shield and everything? Because really, that WWE concludes in the anti-penultimate match.
Yes, I would agree. And I think there's a lot of people's wrestling journey as fans in this period of time is that what kept them around was Punk, The Shield...
Bryan.
Daniel Bryan. And actually, I'd say
Jericho.
Team Hell No.
Team Hell No, Jericho.
Jericho, perhaps to a lesser extent, but there was like a group of guys that people were being... And actually, the promise of Dolph Ziggler, that people were sticking around for. But like the main event is this Cena Rock thing that is really just kind of for Vince and the quote-unquote casuals. I was in a similar boat to you. I did stay awake for all of this show, though, because we had quite a good party for this. Usually it was just me and my buddy John watching these shows, like just on our own. But this year we had like Ross, who I talked about, the guy who wrote Bob Holly's book. He came with his friends. They came dressed as the Rhodes Scholars. Nice. For this event. So they were very disappointed that their match got cut. And another guy that we were working with who said that he was this wrestling fan. And he's the one I spoke about in the last episode, I think. He was a wrestling fan, but really what he liked was CM Punk and Divas.
Oh, yes, you did mention the Thirsty Man.
And that was pretty much about it. And he was disappointed that there was no Divas match on this show.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because CM Punk likes Divas and Divas like CM Punk.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
No, he dated most of them.
No. I'm just going to put out there allegedly, just in case. I do not want to get Brian Alvarez CM Punk heat for this show. So I did watch this one live, and I'm pretty sure I did stay awake for the whole thing because there was more of a party atmosphere. But I do agree, and I would certainly say for our group, the interest in it dropped off after the Punk Taker match. This is a bad year for Punk as well. It's such a bad year.
He quits.
He quits in January. It's our last WrestleMania on traditional pay-per-view.
Oh, is it the network era by 30?
Yeah, WrestleMania 30 is the first one on the network. And actually, that's our first little bit of news here from Variety. For the past 2 years, WWE has worked towards the goal of launching its own TV network. Thousands of hours of TV episodes and pay-per-view events from its vast library have been digitized, staff have been hired, and a Twitter feed has some 94,000 followers. Part of the $40 million already spent has gone to original series, including a Big Brother-like reality TV show featuring WWE legends, which is Legends House. What's still missing is a launch date. With carriers clamping down on the costs of basic cable and satellite channels and per subscriber fees they're willing to pay to channels to that tier, plans have shifted to launch the WWE Network this fall as a premium pay TV outlet akin to the NFL Network, which airs live games and vintage programming from its vast library. The network will be the home of most of WWE's current pay-per-views except for its biggest, WrestleMania, which will remain a pay-per-view buy. Though in a recent call with analyst, WWE's chief financial officer George Barrios said he thinks that eventually pay-per-views does go away. The premium model looks especially attractive in overseas territories like Canada and Mexico. During the company's fourth quarter earnings call in February, company topper Vince McMahon extolled the virtues of an international approach. Quote, "Although we do not announce the launch of a domestic television network during the year, we believe now more than ever that we can realize the full value of our intellectual property using a variety of approaches in our global markets. Our confidence is based on the rising value of content and the tremendous global appeal of our brands." So at this point here, network is coming, but it is on TV.
It's sort of a cable channel.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to select what you watch on a sort of on-demand service. It would be more of a, here is a constant feed of, we have programmed a linear TV channel.
Yeah, if you tune in at 9 on Tuesday, we're going to be showing WrestleMania 3.
Which doesn't really, I don't think would have ever properly worked. They had something very similar at the time called The Vault.
Yeah.
It was
WWE 24/7.
WWE 24/7, yeah. But if I was going to sign up to a WWE cable channel, which it sounds like this is what this is, I would expect to have Raw and SmackDown on there. But I imagine USA Network would not allow that at this time because they have the exclusive deals. So you're really only signing up to this channel for the archive, which is scheduled by WWE, not an on-demand service, and stuff like Legends House, those extras. And pay-per-views.
Yeah. But not WrestleMania, which will be on traditional pay-per-view.
Yeah, so not the fully realized version of the network that I think is the best version. I'd sort of, now we're no longer in the network era. I miss it.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Actually, genuinely really
didn't know how good we had it, really.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing just being able to go onto that homepage and just having access to so much stuff in one place. Whereas on Netflix, it's first world problems. There's a bit more like hoops to jump through to find the show that you're after or the pay-per-view that you're after. I
hate that I have to click into Royal Rumble, then I have to click into year,
episode.
And then there's one episode in that year's. Yeah. That's not how my brain categorizes these shows.
No, and also I miss having just all of the documentaries that are on there because they digitized so many of those DVDs from the early 2000s when there's an advert on this show for the Mick Foley Have a Nice Day DVD. Is it the Have a Nice Day one? Or was one?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
For All Mankind.
Yes, it's a Mankind documentary.
Whichever one it is, on the network, you just had all of them ready. I could just, if I was bored. Last night's a good example of this, actually. So last night, my wife was out. And I put the kid to bed. I made my dinner. I had my dinner in the kitchen while I listened to a podcast.
Daddy's night in.
And then I sat down on my sofa with a little beer. And then I put it on the TV and I was like, I don't know what to watch
Hmm.
because everything that I watch with my wife. So I don't really have like a show that's just for me. And what I could have done with is having access to the network and just been like, I'm just going to watch a random old wrestling DVD from the mid 2000s. This is perhaps the virtues of physical media or a VPN to get you access to things like that. But there was more hoops I had to jump through to do that. In the end, I watched War for the Planet of the Apes.
War for the Planet of the Apes, which is the most recent.
It's the third one.
The third one?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
You know what? I've not seen it.
Have you not?
No, as great as those that reboot series is. No, I've not seen War.
War's tremendous, man. It's so good with Woody Harrelson as the Colonel.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. It's an awesome film. I didn't watch all of it because my wife came home and we went to bed.
Yeah.
But I could have done with. Oh, do you know what I'm going to watch? The Dudley Boys DVD. That's on the network.
I've said it before. If I get home and I'm tired and my partner's not in, I would just put on one of the Rise and Fall of DVD, and it was the Rise and Fall of WCW, Rise and Fall of ECW, Rise and Fall of WCCW. Just those documentaries about the promotions.
Yeah.
And when I'd finish one, I'd just go back to the start, maybe with a bit of the Punk documentary thrown in as well.
There is actually, I should put over the Vault and WWE's own channel and the WCW Vault at the moment, because those channels are just live all the time. And on Friday when I was working, I was in the office on my own on Friday. And while I was working, I just put on the WCW channel and just watched whatever they were showing on live. And they were showing Uncensored 2000. So I just had that on in the background.
Turn it off.
Watching Brian Knobbs have a 3-on-1 handicap match against 3 Count for the singles hardcore championship.
How did this company die? We just on that little report there as well, you mentioned George Barrios, long-time high-up executive in WWE, who would eventually be ousted by Vince McMahon, I think circa 2021, because he was trying to protect the WWE network.
Yeah.
Vince wanted to sell the network in a licensing deal to a bigger streaming platform like a Peacock or eventually a Netflix. But it was Barrios and Michelle Wilson who were like, no, we think it should remain our own thing.
Yeah.
There's just a bit of follow-up on Barrios' name there.
In some other news, Rob Van Dam was on Voice of Wrestling and said he would be returning to TV very soon with either TNA or WWE. Given that he was at the Hall of Fame ceremony, that may indicate what that means, although we're told that MVP and RVD were both there because they're good friends with Booker T. Quote, I do have plans to return very soon and wrestle on TV, and it won't be with any independent promotions. I'll be wrestling with either TNA or WWE very soon. What we do know is he got an offer on the table from TNA, but he was at the WWE Hall of Fame, and given his age, he may mentally think this is his last chance for a big money run. He did an interview on the WWE website. When asked about coming back, he said there is always a chance. And he does return in the summer.
Oh, it's this year that he comes back.
He comes back.
Yeah.
He comes back, and
he's in the Money in the Bank match.
In Money in the Bank, and then he's partnered with Ricardo Rodriguez.
Genius.
In a feud with Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, it's what everyone like. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. Hogan did his Hogan and Friends show at the Beacon Theatre in New York. So Hogan's kind of cashing in on this WrestleMania season.
Who are his friends?
He did an angle early at the house show in Westbury and then went into Manhattan for a 10 p.m. show with Eric Bischoff and Dave Penzer.
Wow, Dave Penzer. Didn't hear that name much anymore.
There were maybe 1,000 people or less in a 3,000-seat theatre. The advance wasn't good. Most tickets were $30, but they had $300 tickets for meet and greet. $300 tickets now might get you half-decent seats for Raw at the O2. The tickets were substantially discounted, including the $30 ones the week before the show, and Hogan did local media to promote him. As you can imagine, those were there were super Hogan fans. There wasn't a lot new to it, and there were quite a lot of questions from fans regarding WWE. Hogan and Bischoff both thought that a Cena heel turn would be good under the right circumstances. He said mostly good things about Vince McMahon, although said nothing actually bad about him at all, saying Vince the man would give you the shirt off his back, and Vince the businessman was all about business. He also heavily put over Punk. He said the only thing in his career he regrets is not having a match with Austin when Austin was at his peak. He said he misses being in WWE and not being at WrestleMania, but is happy in TNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Imagine. Like, everyone kicks off at any AEW talent these days who talks in a slightly positive way about WWE. It's like, you got to get your troops in line. No one was saying that about TNA back then. I guess they probably just all thought lost cause.
Yeah, this one. Well, Rob Van Dam's a former champion, and he's now left the company, and he's going to WWE. But I love that last line there, was like, man, I miss WWE. Man, I wish I was a wrestler. But I am happy at TNA.
So happy at TNA.
So happy at TNA.
Love the schedule.
I thought this was an interesting one. It was noted to us regarding Eva Lee's, who does have the look and cut a strong promo in her TNA gut check that she was not cut by WWE based on looks, ability, or even marketability, but because of her attitude, which was noted to us at the time was quite bad.
And Eva Lee's would go on to, I can't remember which controversy she's responsible for.
She had the AEW sandbagging moment with Thunder Rosa during the pandemic. Yeah. Probably because of a bad attitude. Stephanie McMahon announced a new facility for developmental in Orlando, which will open up in June. It's modeled after a college football or pro football training facility with a ton of different rings set up plus a gym on location with a similar type of coaching staff. And it will be called the WWE Performance Center.
Fascinating. So, actually, looking back at the backstage news at this time, because I always think of this period as what happened to the on-screen talent. Within a year's time, all those people you're excited about, Bryan's injured, Punk's left, Shield are broken up, Wyatt got beaten by Cena. And it feels like they had the future of the company ready to go on screen. And they squandered it, and they went back to Randy Orton and John Cena and all these people we didn't necessarily want anymore. But actually, as a business, they put in place the Performance Center and the network, which is the infrastructure that not only made them incredibly profitable, like the network deal now and the Performance Center and NXT sort of ties into the network, but it also did build the future of stars. Yes, they were mostly misused on the main roster, but yet you think of all the people who came through that NXT promotion.
Yeah. And even actually just came straight from the Performance Center, like a Bianca Belair, for example, is not someone who came in. Because you say like those, the names that came through NXT, they're mostly just, they've made their names elsewhere.
You have some people like Enzo and Big Cass.
Yeah, what I was going to say, those are the good, another good example, like a Bianca Belair. But there are people like, Seth Rollins was already, he was in ROH, Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn knew El Generico, so, he was in there. Finn Balor was New Japan. So a lot of these guys were already top names elsewhere and then brought into WWE. But the Performance Center does create a lot of these top stars, and also is where Triple H is going to kind of find his creative home. Because NXT is given to him as the pet project to see, can you run a promotion successfully? And the answer was no, because it never made any money.
Yes, I can run a promotion successfully if I'm given an infinite checkbook and I can sign talent from everyone else.
Yeah. If I can take all of the best talent from every other promotion and basically just do supercards, yes, I can put on critically applauded shows that make no money.
That would send any other indie promotion absolutely bankrupt. We're being glib. It worked out in the end.
That's exactly it. And so this leads to him then taking over and now becoming the guy who's running WWE.
Yeah, look, the Performance Center, the network, were 100% incredibly smart investments into the future.
100%.
So this company did have a long-term view of their infrastructure, just not of their talent.
This is an interesting one. The whole social media thing has been divisive. So WWE, actually, the last couple of years that we've been tracking this, I say last couple of years, last couple of months we've been tracking the last couple of years of TV. You go back to like 26, Twitter was kind of new. Sorry, 27, Twitter was kind of this new thing that WWE didn't really want to focus on and wrestlers didn't really know what to do with. So Kurt Angle would often get hacked and tweet about the shows that he didn't agree with all of the points that they made, but some of them he was quite on board with. Now they're quite leaning heavily into it. We saw at Raw 1000, there's all this stuff with Twitter, there's Skype, they were pushing tout and all this sort of stuff. They're kind of going heavy in on it. But apparently, the whole social media thing has been divisive. No one can publicly say anything because Vince has advisors who tell them that it's a wave of the future, and the stats they roll out with all the tens of hundreds of millions of this and the sound impressive and how they're beating NFL and the NBA. Stephanie this week said that in 1 year, social media will completely transform the company, which had people shaking their heads because the last year has been such a strong push, and while right now business is up, we are only a few months removed from all the same social media pushes of business being soft and ratings at generational lows until the big stars, who are now gone again, come back for Mania. There is a feeling they push social media so much that it gets in the way of traditionally what you would do to put on as a television product, and it comes off as forced and not organic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So the idea is they're pushing so much of the social media, they're not actually focusing on selling pay-per-views.
Yeah. And the social media, in terms of forced and not organic, their social media output felt forced and not organic. Like it felt very fabricated.
Well, we talked about the WWE app on the last show. That we actually got a little bit on the app in a little bit. Triple H in an interview said that when he approached Vince McMahon about wanting to get Bruno Sammartino into this year's Hall of Fame, that Vince told him, quote, "If you want to waste your time, go ahead." He said that after his first conversation with Sammartino, his reaction was, quote, "Maybe Vince was right. It's clear there's a lot of issues."
Yeah. Well, Bruno did not like the way that WWE went even in the late 80s, he was against the steroid use and all that stuff. And then particularly the tonal direction it went in the Attitude Era.
Hated that.
Yeah.
Really hated it.
And Bruno seems like an incredibly moral, principled guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about this news story is I think this tells you the difference between how Vince McMahon ran WWE. And I'm not only talking about Vince McMahon like business-wise, from the personal standpoint, but business-wise, how Vince ran it and how Triple H might do things a bit differently with nowadays. He says here, quote, "What won Sammartino..." Oh, sorry, this is Dave Meltzer writing. "What won Sammartino over is Triple H didn't argue with him about his complaint, just saying, quote, 'I'm not denying any of it. All I can do is tell you where we're at today and where we are moving.'" So Vince's attitude was, don't waste your time, because he'll never change his mind. Triple H's attitude was, I hear what you're saying, but this is why we've changed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really interesting in sort of the conflict resolution styles. But Vince, because if Vince has probably tried to get Bruno before. Of course he had. And he would go into those meetings. Bruno would say, but I don't like this, this, and this. And Vince will probably go, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that, it'll create an adversarial thing. Of course you're not going to win over Bruno that way.
Yeah.
But that's not what Vince is used to, people telling him no and that he's wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas Triple H, a bit more humility. Whether that's real humility, you don't know, or whether it's what Triple H needs to do in that moment to get that goal done.
I think it might be more of that. But
that's why that's why he's called the game.
But it's also a genius business move.
It's pragmatic.
Yeah, because he mended fences between WWE and Bruno Sammartino, which is brilliant then for doing this New York show here. Well, this New York market show that they're doing. Daniel Bryan did an interview with the Washington Post where he said he doesn't consider himself a great wrestler anymore. When asked about his current role, he said, "I don't consider it wrestling. I've done wrestling everywhere, and just by being a good wrestler, you can become popular, but not here. It's more important to be entertaining than it is to be a great wrestler. It's fascinating to me. Some things just stick. Why it happens, I've no idea."
This is exactly what I was saying about when we went to the Raw show live recently.
I know.
It's like, look, it's fine. It's entertaining. It's not really that good wrestling.
No,
it's bang average wrestling.
Yeah.
And when you're there live, it's really exposed because everything's entrances, and then the wrestling starts. You're like, okay, so he's going to get worked over a bit, and then he's going to do a hot tag. It's the same formula. Whereas Daniel Bryan's come from Ring of Honor, which was getting the art form by the scruff of the neck and dragging it forward in a surfboard stretch motion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice to be validated by one of the greatest wrestling minds of our generation.
I actually don't have the full quote in there, but to back up your point, he does say wrestling is an art form. I see it as an art form, but they don't.
Yeah.
And
they're a business.
They're a business. And you just said then, it was like, it's an art form in the indies.
Yeah.
Danielson agrees with you even more.
I love Bryan. Like, you think, oh, he's just got the FU money now. He can say what he wants. He has always been this way.
Yeah.
He is, and particularly at this point when he's not really broken through to the main event scene, saying something like that would have been like you would have been buried. He doesn't care.
Going out in an interview and being like, oh, this isn't pro wrestling. No. This is a circus, and I'm just part of the circus. And I'm quite good at being in the circus. I mean, Danielson, what I love about Danielson, in his book, he said that one of his most favorite times being a wrestler was doing the Butlins run in the UK, was just going around like the holiday camps and doing comedy. And he said, so much fun. He was doing it I think he was doing it with William Regal. It was like, oh, it was just so much fun. Because you just go out there and have a good laugh, and that's it. Yeah. And it's so fun. He's a guy who loves all forms of wrestling, but completely understands that this one over here is pro wrestling. This one really isn't. But they're both valid. CM Punk on losing to The Rock in an interview with Busted Open Radio.
Okay, so everything we just said about Daniel Bryan, sort of the opposite tact from Punk usually.
Well, let's find out. I wasn't really champion for 434 days. It's not like I really won it. We're adults here. We know that pro wrestling is predetermined.
What?
My only gripe is that it's always interesting because I do so many of these interviews and my answers always change, and of course people just print like, Punk's mad that Rock's part-time. Whatever, this is a business. The bottom line is dollars. But I can't help it that I have so much old school ingrained into me that the champ works every show. So it's 2013 and the business completely changed, and I was just vocal about there not being a champion for 2 to 3 months to work house shows. I think the title is an attraction. Title fights should end the card. I just have a different philosophy on things. It's great that The Rock is back. Anybody in the locker room that says it doesn't piss them off that he works however many days a year, he works that we're working 300 days a year, is saying something ridiculous. They're kidding themselves. They're scared to say it. I appreciate Rock and everything he does. He puts more eyes on the product. That's awesome. Maybe at the Royal Rumble Elimination Chamber, more people saw CM Punk for the first time. That's cool. But to me, the champ has a responsibility to the locker room. You have to toe the line when you're the champ. He's not on every show. I'm not piss and vinegar crying about it. It's just a completely different opinion.
Yes. So obviously you will find fewer bigger CM Punk fans than I. I must admit, though, he says he purports to be business first, and it's all about business, and it, you know, the personal emotions he puts to one side. I think he can jump through some mental hoops to convince himself that these personal issues he's having are business issues.
Yeah.
And therefore he can then, you know, complain about stuff and say, well, it's business, when really it's all deeply personal. I mean, someone once told me, it's just business. No, it's all personal, like really. You're just saying let's compartmentalize things over here where we're not meant to have hurt feelings, and over here. So yeah, but especially with the stuff there about the locker room leader, if you're a champion, pretty sure he was champion when he cut that Brawl Out promo and absolutely destroyed a locker room.
He literally just won that title.
He actively fought the locker room. What would Punk be saying about Punk if that was the behavior of the champion back then?
Well, I'll tell you what he would do. The mental hoops to justify those actions, which is, well, he's working with children.
No, I think so. If Rock did that now, Punk would absolutely come out and say that's out of order and all those things.
I think you're absolutely right, because I think I was just saying he would do the mental hoops throughs because he was the one that did it. But if it was someone else that did it, they are wrong to have done that.
Yeah, because in Punk's mind, what's best for business is actually what's best for CM Punk quite often.
Someone who's not in the company at the moment, Shane McMahon, his wife and kids were all at WrestleMania. Someone sitting by them said they seemed like they had a good time, but nobody was bothering them. Donald Trump and his family were a row up from Shane, arrived an hour into the show, then had to leave for the ceremony, but he was shaking hands and taking photos with people while no one approached Shane. This is a fascinating one because this is something that still goes on to this day, but this is the moment when it changes. They have gotten away from advertising house shows as Raw or SmackDown, as there really isn't a major distinction when it comes to who airs on television. The last few weeks, even though the shows have been just as before, with one tour that used to be called Raw with Cena and the other with the world champion Big Show Orton and the guys considered SmackDown, the website now doesn't distinguish them. The idea going forward, once the ads have run their course, it will just be advertised as WWE Live. Which is what it is still to this day.
I feel like there was a period at the start of the brand split where they did do Raw and SmackDown, and then they would promote them as super shows when they had both brands, just for the house show live events.
And a little fun one for you here. The Herald in the UK reported that WWE have signed Rebecca Quinn, 26,
Becky Lynch,
who wrestles as Rebecca
Sorry,
Knox.
I jumped. I did the reveal. I got too excited that I knew someone's real name.
It's absolutely fine. Who wrestles as Rebecca Knox and will be moving to Florida soon. WWE's response was only that nothing is official as of now. But on this WrestleMania weekend, Becky Lynch signed with WWE.
Wow.
Kazuchika Okada captured the IWGP Heavyweight Championship for the second time, beating Hiroshi Tanahashi in the main event of New Japan's Invasion Attack at Tokyo Sumo Hall. This is an odd one from Meltzer. This is actually later on in the report, but Okada has recently bought a new home, a new car, and furniture, spending $100,000 in cash, and is now broke, and is selling his memorabilia, including his Money in the Bank briefcase and his IWGP title ring.
What, his Money in the Bank briefcase?
Apparently he's had a Money in the Bank briefcase, like a replica one, and he had to sell because he was broke.
What a freaking mark. How much is that going to get?
I don't know, a couple of hundred
What
yen.
furniture was Okada buying?
Well, it's $100,000 worth of it.
Wait, so what? It was furniture,
He
it was a
bought
car.
a new home, a new car, and furniture, and spending $100,000 in cash, and is now broke.
Well, you often get that when people, like snooker players do it a lot. They go out and they do an immediate big purchase.
Yeah.
Because you go from like not really much money to, if you win a world championship, suddenly 600 grand. You're like, well, I've got to do something with it.
Oh, otherwise, they're going to be snookering you tonight.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring up this show. I wasn't actually going to mention any of this New Japan stuff, but I thought I would because I thought this was quite interesting. While the title change on top was the big story, the other big story came in the opener as Prince Devitt did his heel turn that he's been teasing on Twitter.
Oh.
The match story was that Devitt and Taguchi, regular partners since 2009 as Apollo 55, had 2 days earlier won singles matches against both the IWGP Tag Champions Alex Shelley and Kushida respectively. On the show, they were going in with an all-time record in trying to win the titles for a fifth time as they share the record of 4 with Gedo and Jado, but Kushida pinned Taguchi to retain. At first, Devitt acted mad at Taguchi and blamed him for losing. Kushida and to a lesser extent Shelley tried to play peacemaker. It appeared to work as they both shook hands. Taguchi walked away and Devitt sprung into action, nailing him with a rabbit lariat. King Farley, a big prelim guy who New Japan have trained and sent to the US, has been working small shows in California, returned in a suit doing a bodyguard gimmick. He also attached Taguchi. Captain New Japan tried to make the save, but Farley clotheslined him and laid out Taguchi with a Samoan drop. Devitt was tremendous as a heel immediately, then came off the top rope onto Taguchi with a double foot stomp. Farley then nailed Captain with either a clothesline punch or maybe the old Oriental tool punch. Devitt then unmasked Captain and put Captain's mask down his trunks and down his butt. Devitt then said, quote, "No more Apollo 55, no more Mr. Nice Guy," end quote. He then said, quote, "Say hello to my bouncer, bad luck Farley," end quote. Farley then carried Devitt around the ring on his shoulders while Devitt put Captain's New Japan while Captain laid in the ring trying to cover his face. If he was going to put the mask on his face, I don't know exactly why you would then put it down your butt first, but to each his own.
Wait, so Finn, or Prince Devitt at this point, put the mask down his pants and then wore the mask himself?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's a huffing hot box, isn't it?
So if anyone is curious as to why I brought this
I
up...
believe the make of that would be Gucci.
It's good stuff!
It's good stuff!
It's good stuff!
Has he got riders? No, it's off the cuff.
He's 2 for 2. And this is on the free feed. If anyone's curious as to why I've read that out, I will then read you this Wikipedia article. At the following pay-per-view, Wrestling Dontaku in 2013 on May 3rd, Devitt and Farley teamed for the first time to defeat Taguchi and Captain New Japan in a tag match. Later in the event, Devitt and Farley entered the ring to attack the now former IWGP champion Hiroshi Tanahashi after he defeated Carl Anderson in a singles match. Anderson was invited to join the attack, at first hesitant as he was confused, but then turned on Tanahashi, hitting him with the gun stun. Also, Tama Tonga, who makes his return and had a partnership with Anderson for the last few weeks, joined the attack. In a post-match interview, the four men announced the formation of an all-Gaijin stable named Bullet Club. This weekend is the formation of Bullet Club, which would go on to change the face of pro wrestling forever.
And still to this day, really, the ramifications are felt. AEW is kind of a Bullet Club promotion.
That's it, because when Devitt goes and AJ takes over, and then AJ goes and Kenny takes over, and it becomes the Elite, and kind of there's this elite version of the Bullet Club, that's the one that then gets into Hot Topic, and Bullet Club becomes this huge selling t-shirt that leads to All In being a part of, because Cody Rhodes says we can really push this further than it currently is, and that leads to the formation of All Elite Wrestling. Yeah,
Bullet Club's still a big part of New Japan. AEW is essentially, the foundations are Bullet Club, and the top star in WWE right now is Cody Rhodes, who only really took off on the indies because of his association with the Bullet Club.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And it's on this weekend. Ring of Honor ran its shows. You watch these 2 shows?
So it's kind of like wrestling as this overall. Imagine there's a wrestling god, and he's like, well, WWE are screwing it up. Like, Vince is doing this thing. I gave him all the gifts. I gave him Punk. I gave him Danielson. I gave him the Shield. But he's going back to Cena, Rock, whatever. So as that happens, as God realizes that, he's like, well, I better plant a seed over here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the start of the Bullet Club, like that same couple of weeks.
If anything, this is actually one of the most pivotal weekends in all of pro wrestling history, because not only is it that, it's the launch of the Performance Center. It's the start of it's the real push for the network changing its direction. And then it's Bullet Club over on the other side of the world. It's Rebecca Quinn signing, who's going to become one of the top. He's really going to be the real push for the women's revolution, what you want to talk, becoming the top star, main eventing WrestleMania. It is a massive weekend in terms of wrestling history.
They seem like little nuggets at this time, but when you retroactively look at them, huge.
So the Ring of Honor show, did you watch this one over the weekend?
I would have, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything about it.
Well, the best match went to Red Dragon versus American Wolves.
Okay, yeah.
And
Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly was sort of, Kyle O'Reilly was the American Wolves' young boy trainer, him and Adam Cole.
Yeah, and the worst match went to Matt Taven versus Adam Cole versus Matt Hardy.
That's probably Matt Hardy. Matt Taven it still is really good. I believe this is post him winning the Top Prospect tournament the previous summer.
Yeah, this is a pre-broken, what is it? Yeah, it's well pre-broken Matt Hardy, isn't it? This is a Matt Hardy. Apparently, he was hated on this show because this is not good Matt Hardy.
Big money Matt.
That's right, it is Big Money Matt. I was trying to remember if this is Big Money or Angelic Diablo Matt Hardy, but I think that's might be mid to late 2000s and as Angelic Diablo. Dave Meltzer would write, piggybacking off WrestleMania proved to be profitable in a huge way for much of the US independent scene, with a number of promotions having their largest crowd and biggest money weekends of the year. One of the promotions in that realm was Ring of Honor, which set an all-time gate record and a sellout of 1,800 fans at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
So, remember, that is a Ring of Honor record at this time. So when Cody said, I'm going to get 10,000, that's huge.
Yeah, in just 3 years' time. He's going to literally times it by 10, or at least times it by 5. The biggest news of the show was that Jay Briscoe ended Kevin Steen's nearly 1 year run as champion.
Oh, yeah.
The bad news was the pay-per-view, which had no significant problems, did have issues right at the end of the main event. The screen froze for a few minutes, and when it came back, Briscoe was hitting the J Driller on Steen to win the title. They played the change-up for all it was worth, with a major celebration in the ring, with 3 generations worth of members of the Briscoe family. The title loss was to set up Steen's final breakup from Scum and babyface turn, which took place the next day at television.
Scum was Steen's faction with Steve Corino and Jimmy Jacobs.
Overall, it was a great show, helped out by rabid fans who came from all over the world. With that and strong TV tapings the next day, while they are still in the same business position they've been, there is much more momentum as the number 3 promotion that can't match the 2 in production values, but the star power.
NXT would sign everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Steen, Adam Cole.
They would have had the Briscoes if it wasn't for the Briscoes' controversial comments.
I won't go into any of this stuff because it's but do you remember the name Grizzly Redwood?
Is that what they used to call Eric Rowan?
He gets. It is one of the reasons why Charlie Haas leaves Ring of Honor. They have basically a fight backstage, and there's lots of various different tales of what happened. But Grizzly Redwood gets fired, and Haas misses that Ring of Honor weekend. But then Grizzly was like, "Oh, he took advantage of me in the ring, and he was drunk, and then we got into a fight backstage because he was drunkenly abusing me." I've got there's a lot of stuff here, but it's a lot to get into, and then we've got a lot more to cover. But on WrestleMania, the thumbs up, 33.9%.
Okay, so not huge. A third of people thought this was a good show.
Thumbs down, 34.9%. In the middle, 31.2%.
So that is like a net zero show.
Hazard to guess what the best match was?
Taker Punk.
Correct. Worst?
Oh, that is an interesting question. What is the worst? Is it Jericho Fandango?
It is not.
Is it Swagger Del Rio?
It is not.
I've just realised there's not a single women's match on this card.
I did say that my friend was very disappointed there were no women to ogle at on this show. His words, not mine.
Is it Triple H Brock?
No.
It's not Rock Cena.
No. I
I'm
think
just
you're
going to go through the whole card. I don't think it's the trios match. Henry Ryback?
It's Henry Ryback.
Yeah, that's fair.
What can arguably be called the biggest week in the history of pro wrestling in the United States finished up with a record-setting WrestleMania, one of the craziest Raws in history, and one promotion after another piggybacking off the show to set their own business records. So it was quite a newsworthy Raw after Mania, because last year was the rise of the yes chants, which WWE then probably ignored. This year, I think it's fandangoing, and I think this is where we start to see this trend of the traveling fans making the Raw after Mania about what they can get over as opposed to the show itself, which WWE will really lean into over the next couple of years and then actively work against it and made the fans stop doing it.
Yes.
So I can tell you what happened on that Raw after Mania. So we got the Ziggler cash-in.
And my all-time favourite memory.
We got Ryback's heel turn.
Okay.
He turns heel on Cena at the end of the show. Fandangoing and the British crowd chanting, "End this match," during a match between Sheamus and Randy Orton. Also, this is the whole card for the Raw after Mania. Because I feel that some people might think that I catastrophize this whole thing of like the part-timers came in for WrestleMania and then the rest of the card is just like these bunch of nobodies and you have them for the rest of the year and then the part-timers come back for WrestleMania. Here is the Raw after Mania card. Daniel Bryan versus Big E. Wade Barrett versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Del Rio versus Swagger and Zeb Coulter. Santino and Zack Ryder and R-Truth versus 3MB. Fandango versus Kofi Kingston. Brodus Tensai, Cameron and Naomi versus the Rhodes Scholars and the Bellas. And the main event was Cena versus Mark Henry.
Oh, yeah, so that's main event. What was on the Raw show?
When you think back to like who are all, like the top 6 names on this show, it's Cena, Rock, Triple H, Brock, Punk, and Taker. Cena's the only guy on the show. Taker is part of it as well because Taker does a backstage thing. I think it's either a backstage thing or it's in the ring. He does an angle with Kane and Daniel Bryan with the Shield, and that sets up the show they do at the O2 where the Shield take out the Undertaker and he wrestles in the O2. And I actually referenced that when I was at SmackDown. Because Seth Rollins says to Roman, you and I, in this building, powerbomb the Undertaker through that table.
No one else.
No
just
one else.
You and I,
just
Roman.
you and I. We didn't talk about that on the show yesterday, but they had a video of recapping what happened on SmackDown. Beautifully showing so much of the Shield, but only ever 2 members of the Shield. And the only reason Moxley gets shown on screen is because they have one angle of the chair shot where Seth Rollins turns heel, and Moxley is annoyingly in frame of it. But yeah, like it was a nothing show. Now, granted, Rock was supposed to be on the show, and so was Brock Lesnar, which we'll come on to in a little bit. Dave Meltzer would write, for all the negativity that pro wrestling can often breed, if you're a fan at any level, it would be hard not to find a number of things about the week that wouldn't be either great or memorable. WrestleMania coming to the New York market with one of the biggest shows in history, arguably the biggest Hall of Fame in history, led to more tourists coming from all over the world than any week ever. New York was overrun by wrestling fans, with every major promotion and every major star in town and the most successful wrestling convention of its kind, which was WrestleCon. Many shows were great. Ironically, WrestleMania itself wasn't one of them in a lot of people's eyes. WrestleMania was one of the most unique shows ever because it was viewed differently by different people. As a pure spectacle, it was a legitimate sold-out audience with pyro, the impressive stage, and various scenes representing New York, but there were all kinds of problems and issues. The response we got varied greatly. From those in the stadium, it seemed to depend on where you were sitting. There were hot spots where fans were going crazy and everything was over. There were spots where nothing was over except the standout match on the show, Taker versus Punk. There were people who blamed the weather, saying it was too cold and that's why no one responded. There were others that said it wasn't cold and it had absolutely nothing to do with it. Some said that the sound of the live crowd disappeared into the sky. Others said there was no sound and the audience was dead. Others said that it was loud and the television just didn't pick it up. Brian Alvarez, there live, noted this unique fact, saying the higher up you were, the colder it got. In many places, it wasn't bad. In others, it was very cold than in other places, and the crowd was dead for most of the show. There were a lot of issues that obstructed viewing seating, which seemed like a major problem. We got tons of emails as the post setting up for the canopy over the ring blocked views for apparently thousands of fans. There were chants of "we can't see" early in the show, although in such a big stadium you couldn't really hear them. Some people who complained were relocated to where they could see better. The problem was a very significant people on the floor who paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for tickets. One person who contacted us, who came from Europe for the first time, said he'd never come back, said he couldn't see anything in the middle of the ring, and it took 75 minutes of complaining before he was moved, and that fans who were moved to new seats where he was sitting were pretty mad, noting that some people left before the main event. It sort of goes on and on and on and on about all of that. But yeah, there were lots of areas that were obstructed because of the massive thing that's above the ring.
Oh, wow. Weird about the temperature pockets as well, both in crowd heat and actual literal temperature. They probably influence each other.
Yeah. Others who may not have complained but left upset, having paid hundreds of dollars for obstructive view seats. Others have said nothing could be done about it because it was a sold-out building, but there weren't tons of people upset because there were high-dollar seats. It did not turn into a PR issue as no one mainstream picked up like Super Bowl issues. WWE did say that people complained and they did move them. From what we're told, people who did complain and asked to move were put in a long line which caused them to miss matches, and many got moved. Others got tired of standing in line and just went back to their seats. There were also a problem with fake StubHub tickets, as there were people who bought secondary ticket markets, went to the building, and were told their tickets were fake.
No.
Yeah. There were major issues ordering the pay-per-view on the internet and through the WWE website. The feed went down for 2 hours. At that point, people who'd ordered were able to see the show from start to finish on a 2-hour delay.
What is this, Ring of Honor?
I know. Pay-per-view problems. The feed went down. At that point, people who had ordered were able to see the show from start to finish on a 2-hour delay. Some who said there was bleeding over from the audio from the post-game show when they were watching matches. We did get significantly more complaints regarding those who ordered on the internet compared to complaints about it being ordered through television. In addition, many people couldn't access the post-game show. The app also crashed during the show. There were plans on the show to do as they did for Raw and push people towards the app, but those changed and the announcers were told not to mention it because of the crash. Also, because the app crashed, people who tried to order the pay-per-view through the app couldn't do so.
Oh, no. This is probably, I assume it's because so many people were using it at one time.
That's exactly it, yeah. Not a great sign for the network launch in a year's time. WWE officials said there were digital pay-per-views for people with desktop and personal computers, but issues wouldn't affect people ordering on Xbox, Samsung Mobile, or tablets. We got one report from someone who disputed that, saying he ordered through Samsung and it didn't work. They noted that he sent out a message to all those who'd ordered when the stream was fixed. Everyone at that point, from a little after 9 p.m. Eastern, could watch the show from the beginning, and said that most of those people watched it on delay. If there was a consensus view, is that for a WrestleMania, it was overall below par. Certainly from a pay-per-view standpoint, it was not a bad show. Every wrestler was out there working to the best of their ability, and only one match, Henry versus Ryback, I'd call not good. One match was great. There were a lot of talented wrestlers who have had their times cut, and in one case, their match cut, particularly so the big three matches could have time to tell their stories, but particularly also because of things like PSAs, which are rarely served better on television shows than pay-per-views. There were lots of injuries coming out of the top three matches. When it came to the top three matches, Cena came in hurt, but didn't appear to get hurt worse, and Undertaker was fine, but everyone else got hurt at one point or another. There were tons of ideas for backstage vignettes and other videos cut. The crowd did hurt the show from a television standpoint, being so cold for many of the matches. I think that's cold in terms of crowd heat, not temperature heat.
But probably both.
And it was part of the issue to go into an outdoor show in a cold weather climate. It's probably not the best idea to, on one hand, but returning to the New York market was clearly the best thing for the company. A lot happened. Cena beat The Rock to win the WWE title in a match where Cena came in with a broken thumb and battling food poisoning. Rock, during the show, tore his abdominal muscle, tore his abductor, and suffered a hernia. So this is going to be an interesting bit that I think we'll probably dive into more when we get to the main event. Where does Rock get hurt?
Yeah, well, I thought it was earlier because I just assumed, they're doing a lot of boring rest holds. Someone must be injured.
Yeah.
But no, I read it comes quite late.
So
from The Rock's interview.
Well, The Rock also says it happens earlier in the match. So one of the interviews I've read is he said it happens when Cena hits the rock bottom on him.
Yeah.
And then says, so I then had to wrestle for 25 minutes with a hernia.
Probably felt like it.
But that spot happens with 4 minutes before the match ends. Meltzer here said that he was told that it happened when they did the first attitude adjustment.
Ah.
I don't think it is on that. I think that there is what we're going to get here's my personal take. I think what we're going to find out here is that what actually happened has since been embellished by some parties to make it seem like The Rock worked more of the match hurt than he actually did.
Yes.
Not saying he doesn't get hurt, because he clearly does, but it has now become this huge part of the match's mythos. Because when I talked to Tempest about this, he said, oh yeah, that match sucks because Rock gets hurt. But I don't think The Rock gets hurt until 3 minutes before the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Because I was watching closely him holding himself, and he doesn't start sort of favoring that part of his body until after the John Cena rock bottom.
And I think I've got my smoking gun as well, which we'll come on to when we get to the main event. He continued to wrestle, and it's his belief that the muscle continued to tear from his pelvis as they went into big moves and near falls. And by the time the match was over, both his abdominal and abductor muscle were completely torn off of his pelvis.
What does that even look like? Like you've got a couple of eggs in a basket, like in a loose tote bag?
Guess so. The match, as far as layout, went exactly as planned. No one was aware that night that Rock was injured. A lot of the wrestlers were surprised the next day because he wasn't acting hurt at all after the match. The story of the match consisted of them kicking out of each other's finishes over and over and building up crossing on spots from their match the previous year. The match was very good, but the crowd wasn't nearly as hot.
Meltzer said that.
Meltzer says the match was very good, but the crowd wasn't nearly as hot for it as the year before. Ultimately, the build-up for the first match was better. The crowd hated Cena and wanted Rock to win. They did pop for the finish when Cena won, but that often happens when people see a major title change. So this is where we get into the ramifications of that injury. Lesnar was pulled from the Raw show when word came that Rock wasn't going to be there because it's now the start of a new contract and he has very limited television dates in his deal over the next year. They didn't want to waste one of them without something major and with everything in question and no big alternative on a few hours' notice. Lesnar was knocked out by a knee early in the Triple H match and really didn't recover for about 5 minutes. It wasn't obvious in the match, but Triple H had to lead him through a few minutes until he got his wits back. The match was very physical. Triple H's arm was in a bad position during one of Lesnar's slams on the ring steps. He thought he broke his arm, but didn't call to go home, and they finished up everything as planned. He had X-rays that showed bone bruising but no break. He also had several degree burns on his arms and torsos from the dry ice machine getting all over him before his ring entrance. Shawn Michaels at ringside took a shot from Lesnar and was bleeding badly from the nose. It was believed he had a broken nose, but the next day he said his nose wasn't broken.
He only took 2 moves, I think, Shawn.
Also pulled from Raw was CM Punk. Punk suffered both an elbow injury and a worsened knee injury, both from a spot where he came off the top rope with an elbow on Undertaker, who was on the Spanish announce table. The table didn't break, and apparently his leg smashed into the side of it on landing. His elbow swelled up immediately, but the injury that no one's talking about was after the show. His knee was bothering him going into the match, and it worsened. He's going to get an MRI this week to find out the damage. Punk wasn't pulled due to injury. He was originally scheduled to do a scripted promo and was backstage at the show. When the show was rewritten, the decision was made to not have him come out because of the belief the audience would cheer him so much and that WWE doesn't want that. So they had Paul Heyman, who was cheered heavily, only do a backstage promo, and he said how Punk would be talking, but not until next week's show. The idea is to build something for next week.
Yeah, because it's a traveling crowd, smarter crowd, New York crowd, international crowd. They're definitely going to cheer Punk when they see him.
Yeah, so Rock gets hurt. The idea for the Raw after Mania was to do the big closing angle, Brock Lesnar attacks The Rock, and that sets up the main event of WrestleMania 30, Brock versus Rock.
My God, what an alternative timeline.
Yeah, but Rock gets hurt at WrestleMania 29, so he is then, so that's step one, so they have to rewrite the show completely. Brock Lesnar pulled from the show. Punk, supposed to be in the show, gets hurt. Don't want him on the show because they don't want him cheered. He is pulled from the show. But yeah, because of what happens to The Rock, then we get into all the movie stuff, and he's just not at WrestleMania 30 in a wrestling capacity at all.
Yeah, because the movies are like, well, you've got to choose one or the other. You can act in our films and be healthy all the time and not cost us millions and millions and millions of dollars if you do get hurt, or you can do wrestling. You cannot do both. And after that, Rock obviously quite wisely chooses the movies, and we never get The Rock versus Lesnar as the main event of WrestleMania 30, most likely.
I mean,
which might have made it good.
I mean, it would have been potentially one of the main events. We don't know, like if it was going to be.
Oh, come on!
I mean, it probably would have been that.
It would have been Rock versus Lesnar main event.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been Triple H versus Batista.
Oh, well, so the idea was it was Triple H Punk.
Triple H Punk, you're right. Batista Cena,
Batista,
maybe?
it's Batista Orton. So Batista's coming back in 2014. He was the Royal Rumble. It'd been Batista Orton for the title.
Yeah.
That's your top 3 matches. It's Batista Orton, Triple H and Punk, and Brock and Rock. And then apparently it's Taker Cena is the other match that they wanted to do that they then decided not to do because Taker goes into the Brock program instead.
But we got that match eventually.
Yes.
Well, just on the night as a random thing at a WrestleMania.
We got it 4 years later after that one. And the last note from the Observer before we get into the show itself, and of course our little fun game, the advertised Brodus Clay and Tensai and Cameron and Naomi versus Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow and Bella Twins match was taken off WrestleMania due to time constraints. All were unhappy, but it was said Rhodes was in particular. The match would have likely ended up as a buffer in the middle of the main event matches, so it would have been in a death position to get any reaction. They ended up having the match on Raw, where it barely got 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, no offense. If you're going to cut something, that's the one to cut.
Yeah, probably. But Ollie Davis, are you ready?
Are you ready?
It is time to play our game of what is the #1 movie at the box office, and do I have it? I don't think I actually have the page loaded.
So it's April. April 2nd. Well, it's early April.
Yeah.
Back in the days when WrestleMania was late March or early April.
Let me just. Yes, before Las Vegas, so we won it over Easter weekend. Mania 29. Let's check the date of this. April 7th is when this show is. I do now have. Ooh, no, I don't think you're ever going to get this one. I can tell you that it beat Oz the Great and Powerful.
Oh, I remember that movie. Sam Raimi directing. Zach Braff as the monkey, the voice of the monkey.
It's a movie that means that Sam Raimi doesn't direct the Warcraft film.
Oh.
So they were having issues with the script stuff for the Warcraft movie, and Sam Raimi was like, basically Blizzard had final sign-off of the script, and he and his writing partner went away and they wrote a script, and then they gave it to Blizzard, and Blizzard was like, we don't like any of this. And Sam Raimi responded, then why did you say that the story was signed off? And so they were like, well, I'm not going to spend another year writing up this script based on your notes. I'm going to go and direct Oz and the Great and Powerful. And because he does that, Blizzard were like, well, we're not going to have you direct the movie then. We're going to go in a different direction. Not really telling Raimi that either. So everyone's like, apparently then I'm not the director of that movie anymore.
And poor Duncan Jones is who they went with.
And it ends up in Duncan Jones's lap, and he's the first person who came in with the different take, which is all of Raimi's take in the original Blizzard version of the script was, it is humans versus orcs. And Duncan Jones came in and is like, why don't we do it from both perspectives?
Which is a really good idea.
Yeah, and that's the version that Blizzard really liked, and Duncan Jones ended up getting the gig.
And then Blizzard destroyed it in the edit.
Yes, and then Duncan Jones had a terrible time making that movie.
Duncan Jones, by the way, fun fact, is the son of David Bowie.
Yes, he so is.
But in sort of, I've always thought this is quite funny in a WWE second generation naming way. He didn't name himself Duncan Bowie.
Yes.
Don't want to use that legacy. He wanted to make his own name.
Yeah.
But it also always, I thought, it's like, Mr. Perfect's son. You're Curtis Axel.
You're not Kurt Hennig.
You're not Kurt Hennig?
No. We're not. You're not Kurt Hennig. We're going to name you after, well, your proper name and your grandfather's name.
Duncan Jones's next movie, as we're recording this, is Rogue Trooper, which is the 2000 AD comic book strip that I'm a big fan of. And it's going to be the world's first Welsh-led superhero movie.
Hooray!
So he's going to have a Welsh accent. And he's blue. I don't know if anyone knows anything about Rogue Trooper. He's a blue dude. He's a blue dude, and he's going to sound a bit more silly with a Welsh accent, which isn't the most intimidating accent.
What are you talking about?
It's musical. It's famously lovely to listen to.
I'm going to get you, I am. Oh, do stop that, will you? I can't be having that now. I'll come over here. I'll punch you in the face.
It's a sci-fi dystopian World War II analogy. It's gonna hit really weird.
Oh, I don't like the Nazis.
Okay, so what would the movie be at this time? You said I'm not going to get it, so not a franchise film?
I think it does get a sequel. It's been #1. This is its last week. It's of 3 weeks. So it's been the #1 for 3 weeks at this point.
It's post the Oscar buzz. It's pre the summer hit.
Yep.
Is it a kids' film because we're approaching Easter holidays?
It sure is a kids' film.
And it got a sequel, Romeo and Juliet.
No, it's not Romeo and Juliet, I'm afraid. Which I think was the sequel.
Was it? What was it before? Over the Hedge.
No.
Is it an animated kids
It is
movie?
animated. No, you're right. I think Romeo and Juliet is the first one, but the second one did have... What was the second one called?
Is it called like Romeo and Juliet and something?
I can't remember now. Sherlock Gnomes. That's what I'm thinking of. Thank you.
Didn't even look that up. It's just a loser. Was it really? Okay, so it's a kids animated film, 2030.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you... if I give you
Is it Easter related?
No.
So it's nothing to do with a bunny?
No, it's nothing to do with the bunny. It's not Hop 2.
Oh.
If only.
Judy Hopps too. I'll watch that.
I think it's DreamWorks.
DreamWorks, a forgotten DreamWorks film.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you, in its second week, it beat G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Which was, because this is the era where The Rock has a movie out every month.
And none of them are getting to the number one position until we get to Fast and Furious.
I might need another clue.
Let me go into it, see if I can find one for you.
Can you just tell me something about this, or maybe a star that's attached to it?
I'll tell you what, I'll go through the starring in reverse chronological order.
Okay.
Reverse billing order, and see if that'll help you get there.
Yeah.
Clark Duke,
one of the great comedic up-and-comers of that time. And for some reason, he's just disappeared. I was rewatching The Office last year, the US Office, and he comes in like last two series as an intern guy. So funny. Me and Kem and Dan were obsessed with his webisode series with Michael Cera.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
I can't even remember what it's called. It's so funny and just there's no jokes in it. They're just weird together.
Clarice Lechman, Catherine Kinnear, Ryan Reynolds, Emma Stone.
Okay, let's stop there. Emma Stone, Ryan Reynolds in an animated movie.
Oh, do you know who the story's by?
Obviously not.
John Cleese.
What?
Yeah. So he gets his story by credit. Doesn't have the final script, which means that he wrote the first draft.
This means John Cleese had a dinner with Jeffrey Katzenberg, and he said, "You know what my grandkids? I tell my grandkids. I tell them a story like this." Katzenberg's like, "Oh yeah, do you want to put the story on credit if we develop that?" Yeah, sure, Jeff.
Yeah, okay. It's nice to be talked about Katzenberg, though.
Yeah, always a fun time with cats.
So I wrote about him so much in December when I was in those 2 cutscene videos.
Oh man, this is a deep cut. I'm not sure I know it. Can you keep going with the star cast?
Well, there's only one more name to read, and is the lead of the movie, Nicolas Cage. Just go double check. Did he get a sequel? He got a video game. Oh, yeah, it did get a sequel in 2016. DreamWorks announced the production of the sequel was cancelled.
Have you got any ideas, Whitney?
I accidentally saw
Oh.
but it definitely has a sequel.
It does. It came out in 2020.
Trolls? No, that's none of those people are in Trolls. Emma Stone in an animated movie.
Well, it had 2 animated series as well, running from 2015 to 2017, and then in 2021 to 2023.
Oh, my boy Katzenberg's going to milk that property for all it's worth.
And it all returned as well for the sequel. Cage, Stone, Reynolds, Kinnear, Duke, Lechman, and then it's joined by Peter Dinklage, Leslie Mann, and Kelly Marie Tran.
Can you just give me a clue on sort of what the story is?
Let's see if
is it fantasy? Is it?
It's not not fantasy. No. So it's not in the How to Train Your Dragon realms of things. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can read here, because I think if I give you like a setting, you'll get it immediately. They're a family who survive various disasters due to overprotective father.
Croods. Yes. Yes. The Croods. Nick Cage. That makes so much sense now.
I just skipped over the first word of that, which was a cave family.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Croods is currently number 1.
I felt like I got it as soon as you said family.
And that was then replaced by Oblivion.
It's the Tom Cruise movie, isn't it? It's not very good.
Then beaten by Olympus Has Fallen, and then Iron Man 3.
Great film. We were at the press screening for that, right? Shane Black, the writer, isn't it?
Did we go to press? Because I
was there because Shane Black and his writing part came out afterwards.
I was in a different one then. Because I I've got a fun story with Iron Man 3, actually, is that I got invited to the press screening of it that they do for like the much smaller press screenings that they do for, like the just critics and critics only.
Oh, the proper ones in the screening rooms in Soho, not the big Odeon
Yeah.
ones where you have frickin' Love Island stars and David Hay.
Exactly, yeah. So I was there in the morning for that. It was like at 11 a.m. And then when I got out of that screening, I had an email from the PR team who also gave me a ticket for the multimedia screening in the evening that people from Love Island were going to with a +1. So I messaged my buddy John. I was like, can you get up to London?
You saw it twice in one day.
I saw it twice in one day.
It's good. It's a good movie.
So I was there for an audience reaction to the reveal of the Mandarin, of it being a big joke.
Yeah. Whereas when you're in the first screening and Mark Kermode's in front of you, just like, no reaction.
No reaction whatsoever.
More notes.
Mark Kermode is not taking notes when he
right.
goes to the screening.
I've been in a few with him and it looked like he was making notes.
No, he's just all up here.
And
he's taking mental
He
notes.
keeps it in his quiff.
It's beautiful, wonderful quiff. Just look at he just leans over to Simon Mayo every now and again and be like, rubbish.
It's so this is it was so weird watching films with Kermode in the room because you forget he's there and then he laughs and you're like, he found that one funny. And then I can't watch the movie for myself anymore. I'm watching it through Mark Kermode.
I have been in press screenings with Mark Kermode. Kermode, I don't know if he still has it this day because I haven't really been on keeping up with the Kermode and Mayo take. The 6 laugh test he has for comedy movies.
Yeah.
So I've been in comedy movies with Mark Kermode.
I always thought of
and
that,
keeping track of how many times he laughs to see if it matches the 6 laugh test for comedies.
Thing is though, and he's admitted it himself, he's tone deaf for comedy. He really, but anyone who praises the Minions that much, they're overcompensating.
This is a mad one though for what is #1 in the UK song charts.
Can I have a clue? Because I'm just going to say Rihanna
Okay, it's not a new song.
Oh, it's something that came back.
This is a re-release song. And in fact, I might have to go to the Wikipedia page to find out why.
April.
Yeah,
Usually
for April.
re-releases do well at Christmas time.
Yeah, no, this is April.
April? Re-release? Maybe because it was in a movie or an advert?
It's weird as well. Like, there's nothing on this Wikipedia page about its second release as well, because its original one was in 1994.
You know what? Is it You Got the Love?
No, it's not. No, it's literally the original song. Like, it's not Florence and the Machine doing a cover of a song in the live lounge that then becomes a single release.
Well, I feel like there were a few examples of that time where the originals got re-released and did very well off the back of a up-to-date cover.
So the single was re-released in March 2023 with royalties from the sales donated to the charity Childline. The song peaked at #1 in the UK singles charts in its first week of release, becoming the first ever single to reach that spot.
Maybe it was a comic relief thing. Because that's comic relief time.
They then performed the song again on a TV show, and the single was re-released again in February 2014.
It's not Amarillo, is it?
No,
that was much earlier.
But again, I'm talking about this is the original song from 1994, just released again.
As was Amarillo. It just had a different music video.
It was not done by Peter Kay the
he
first time
doesn't
round.
sing it. That's just the music video that has Peter Kay in.
But people just know
it's
that.
Tony, whatever his name is.
I know it's Tony, what's his name? But people are like, no, it's the Peter Kay song. And for years, I did think it was Peter Kay just doing that song.
Can I have you can't watch that video anymore.
Oh, no. Oh, it is a cavalcade of cancelled UK stars.
Load of pedos.
It really is a who's who of don't talk about them.
Because I was at 4Music, famous music video television channel, at this time. Because we'd still play it on Magic and stuff all the time. And it felt like there was a period, when U-Tree was going on, that every month would got to re-edit the Peter Kay video.
Not going to cut him out of it.
And it's not like you've got shots to cut to. You've just got the music video, so you've just got to zoom in on Peter Kay and Ronnie Corbett to get rid of Jimmy Savile on the right-hand side.
I really sent you a photo the other. I was in a pub, and they had a bookcase, and they had 3 Greg Wallace books. And
can't sell those anymore.
I took a photo of it to send to you, but like, can't read them anymore.
Sorry, what were we talking
It's
about?
about this song.
Can you give me a genre?
Okay,
or
it's a pop, a hip hop song.
hip hop pop.
It is well, it's a pop track,
90s.
but it is. I mean, yeah, of course it is. But it's a pop song with a hip hop edge. It is two white rappers. If I give you this clue, I think you'll instantly get it. They were from a TV show.
Okay, Anton Deck, Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
It's PJ and Duncan
Huh.
re-releasing "Let's Get Ready to Rumble," which they then performed on Anton Deck's Saturday Night Takeaway.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it was obviously a big stunt attached to that then.
Yes, yeah, PJ and Duncan topping the charts once again with "Ready to Rumble."
I wonder if that ever crossed through to America. Watch us wreck the mic, watch us wreck the mic, watch us wreck the mic.
Psych.
Let's get ready to
What
rumble.
a weird line though,
Let's
because
get ready to rumble.
what you're essentially saying there is like, we're not actually going to be good.
No.
Because
That's like, I'm going to wreck the mic. I'm going to be so good at talking fast.
Yeah, and then they
The
say
mic's going to be destroyed.
no, because what they say is like, watch us wreck the mic, as in like, I'm going to be really good, and then say, psych.
Oh,
As
I
in-
see what you
as in-
mean.
They've been like, not. We're actually going to suck on this song.
What? Or maybe it's a meta joke on the. No, we don't actually mean wreck the mic. We're going to do a good rap.
Yeah,
And they do.
Yeah. We're not going to break these microphones with our words.
Yeah. They could have been dangling the mics over like blenders. Watch us wreck the mic. Watch us wreck. Psych!
Psych.
We're going to sing.
Let's get ready to rumble. But anyway, yeah. Do you want to get into the show now?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we actually opened this year's WrestleMania on a video for Storm Sandy.
Yeah. When they debuting?
Yeah.
I forgot this was a thing that happened. So this is October the previous year. Superstorm Sandy, which was a storm that hit New York specifically. Well, a lot of the stuff on the East Coast. And yeah, like Manhattan was flooded and people, that New York spirit of everyone banding together.
That's it. They even have that line here: New York tough, New Jersey strong. I actually had to double check. I was watching WrestleMania.
Yes.
Because I've forgotten this is how this show opens. This is one of those WrestleManias I have not re-watched, so I didn't remember that this is how WrestleMania 29 opens.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like, obviously this was a thing that happened. But that was October.
Well, yeah, but I guess
This
it's,
is
it's
6 months
still
later.
fresh in the mind for those who live in New York.
Yeah.
Then it's New York tough and New Jersey strong, or whichever way.
I just feel like WWE nowadays would not. I feel like WWE, and that's kind of how I treat a lot of entertainment, is an escapist from the horrible doom cycle of everyday news.
Yeah.
I don't think Paul Levesque is starting any major show with a 2-minute video package on a natural disaster from 6 months ago.
I think it depends on what the natural disaster is.
Yes.
But I think there are certain things that this old regime did that WWE don't do now. Because I even got things like, they have a moment that they had the Special Olympics people there. They had like videos for the National Guard. Like, they have the promos of, here's what we're doing with Be a Star. I don't think they really do that anymore, because what that does is take away valuable ad space that you can sell to corporations for money.
I will also add all those things you just mentioned, and I feel a bit of this opening video package too. It's a bit performative in that there was obviously this horrible culture within WWE at the time, and I feel like the Be a Star stuff is probably the most obvious. Hey, don't bully people, because we definitely don't bully people when they absolutely reportedly do behind the scenes. I don't think you can say absolutely reportedly, but I've done it.
For that on a t-shirt,
Yeah.
absolutely reportedly.
Absolutely reportedly, maybe. Allegedly. It's like, yeah. And watching this, again, I'm not undermining what happened as Superstorm thing, but it feels like something a boomer relative of mine would share on Facebook.
Oh, I totally see what you mean.
It doesn't feel like the start of WrestleMania.
No, but it's. I think that they love New York.
Vince McMahon loves New York.
Which is what I mean by WWE. Vince McMahon loves New York so much that this show is not taking place in New York, but they keep telling you that it is. We actually are in New Jersey. We're in a completely different area. But the Statue of Liberty is a pivotal character within this show.
Yeah.
She is on top of like the stage, like above the ring. It's because we're in the New York market as opposed to being in the the tri-state area, whatever they called it.
I did look on Google Maps, and the MetLife Stadium where this is held is a half-hour drive from the center of Manhattan.
Well, there you go.
So I do feel like it's not like it's deep New Jersey away. It is in the shadow of New York.
Which is what they do say. It's in the shadow of New York. It's not like, where The Sopranos is, where, if they goes like, you're making the trip to New York, and it's like, that feels like that's a day out.
Yeah.
That's a full day's away for them.
But I'll just, again, kind of hopefully illustrate my point of that this is more of a performative thing rather than a more sincere gesture. Let's just listen to this voiceover script from the Governor Chris Christie at the time.
Governor of America, I believe.
But when Mother Nature showed us her worst, we showed the world our best, because the strongest force of nature is the resilient human spirit, a spirit that's alive on every street and every avenue. This is Vince McMahon verbiage.
It is, but it's also, and I don't want to just sound like the callous Brit in the room here, the curmudgeonly Englishman in this room. But bloody hell, America does love America, doesn't it? God, I've never encountered a country that bloody loves itself so much as America. They friggin' love themselves.
I know. If you love this country too much over here, you're considered a bit of a nutcase.
I drive past a house that does have like an English flag hanging outside of it, and everyone's like, "Whoa, they're the weirdo."
Yeah.
Don't go near them. They've probably got some views.
They're going to talk to you about stuff they've read recently.
on Facebook.
But just the other thing about this video package,
Just so you got it on mute, just so you know,
is how low effort it is. So it starts with the sort of Ken Burns voiceover, static images, and it's like, okay, this is pretty good actually. If you kept this to a minute, it would be a nice thing to honor this recent tragedy that happened. But then it does the tonal shift from that Mother Nature did this to us, but now we, the people of New York, have banded together from the Garden State to the Empire State, New York tough to Jersey strong. And throughout that sort of hot tag comeback moment, they show the clips that they've used for the WrestleMania advert since the previous year.
Yeah.
But they've just superimposed different bits onto the little green screen things that people are holding. Look, let's watch it. Oh, I've just muted it again. Let's watch it.
From the Garden State to the Empire.
So we've gone from and now look, these clips of just people in New York, they don't know what they're going to put on these green screens they're
They were
holding.
really trusting WWE to not put a picture of Jimmy Savile on it or something.
It could be Amarillo videos. These exact shots have had WWE clips. Oh my God, there's loads of them. From last year's WrestleMania to advertise where it is. And now they're just putting clips of New York on there. I don't know. I'm not undermining the tragedy. I'm just saying WWE's performative way of opening WrestleMania with it feels a bit cynical.
Also, I would say, because I know you said it's only a half an hour drive. I don't think that if WWE did WrestleMania in Dartford, they would say in the shadow of London.
And it's Zone 6 now. Can you imagine that? WrestleMania Dartford.
Like if they did it in
Blue Water.
Yeah, in Blue Water. Oh, they go to Lakeside.
Blue Water Shopping Mall, once the largest out-of-town shopping mall in Europe.
No, they'd go to Lakeside, surely.
Lakeside's got the history.
It's got the history. I mean, you do have to get the Dart Charge in order to get towards it, which I have forgotten to pay.
They'll get you.
We went to Nickelodeon World there, and I forgot to pay the Dart Charge, which means I got caught there and back.
Uh-oh.
Which means I had to pay £75 each way fines for not paying it within the 24 hours.
They made it super easy. You can just set it up online and it does it for you.
And you don't even have to do it you could just have to do it within the 24 hours. You don't have to do it ahead of time, just so long as you've done it. And I just forgot. And then I got the letter through. And then a second letter came through. I was like, oh no.
He's already dead.
I was like, oh, this is so annoying. Yeah, 150 quid down the drain to go to bloody Paw Patrol.
Cole's opening line after that is, "Welcome to MetLife Stadium in the heart of New York." and New Jersey.
See?
So not even in the shadow now. It's like,
Yeah.
this is the heart of New York.
And New Jersey.
They are very close to Manhattan.
Our commentators for the evening are Michael Cole, JBL, and Jerry the King Lawler,
Ugh.
aka the holy trinity of bad commentary.
But still better than when Michael Cole's a heel.
Yes, maybe. And I would actually say, now that I've watched some of WrestleMania 32, Michael Cole is fucking awful on that show. I'll get to it when we get to it, but there is a certain moment where they try to like really amp up something. And then we get the actual WrestleMania video package, which has got the usual stuff on there. It's got Austin coming out at WrestleMania 13 with the shattered glass, the immovable force, the unstoppable, blah, 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 blah. The boyhood dream has come true. The Austin era has begun. It's all of the stuff you've seen before. It's born from spectacle and grandeur. And they brilliantly show Brock Lesnar doing the shooting star press, but not him landing.
Yeah, some of the other Vince language lines include unyielding fortitude.
It's just how people talk.
There's a really funny joke in 30 Rock where they've accidentally made a movie called Rural Juror. And it's about, a small town person on a jury, Rural Juror. And they realize, oh God, no one can say this title. And it's just like, oh, but that's how Vince just writes scripts and voiceovers all the time.
Yeah.
Unyielding fortitude, resilience that's unmatched, uncontrollable ferocity, immeasurable greatness. These are all things that happen within 20 seconds of voiceover.
There's a gag in Friends when Joey is writing I think it's either his wedding speech or like his recommendation for Chandler and Monica to get adoption, and he wants it to sound smart, so he's shown the thesaurus gimmick on Microsoft Word. You press Shift F7 and it just gives you all the fancy words to do it, and he does it for every single word to the point where he signs it off baby kangaroo Tribbiani.
Yes, so it's there's so many syllables in all the words in this voiceover, but I will forgive it because you mentioned a lot of WrestleMania great clips. But what does the video package open with? The Cube! The Cube makes another appearance in this series. The best staging we've ever had at a WrestleMania.
You love
All
the
honor
Cube.
the Cube, the monolith of 2001. It's come down to take us to another level of humanity.
Who would you have said the Cube would have selected? Who do you think the Cube would have preferred on this show, on
The
this
Cube
card?
favors,
The
first
Cube
off.
favours, of course.
The Cube would favor... Oh, I would favor Rock.
Yeah, probably, yeah. It would be
The
electrifying.
Cube is Vince McMahon.
This is Baddie from F-Zero. Sorry if I was Star Fox even. Anyway, the theme song for this is all about coming home. I'm coming home, I'm coming home.
To New Jersey.
And coming home for our opening contest is a trios match as the Shield take on Team Good Guy of Sheamus, Randy Orton, and the newly babyface Big Show.
Yes, we just reviewed Elimination Chamber, which happened about 5 weeks ago. In comparison to this, where Big Show was most definitely a heel going up against babyface Del Rio.
Yes.
And here he is, a babyface. He's found common ground with Sheamus and Randy Orton against the Shield, who have beaten everyone up.
Well, I'm sure it is going to be a long-running babyface turn for him.
This might be one of the quickest turns and turns back in Big Show's very turny career.
Very turny.
Because it's like 2 weeks out, he saves Randy Orton and Sheamus on Raw from a Shield beatdown. And then by the end of the match, he's turned heel again.
Yes. Although I would say, in this terms, justifiably so. Because Randy Orton's a dick.
Yes, oh yeah.
Yeah. Randy Orton's a real dick here. And speaking of dicks, Michael Cole, this becomes a bit of a running theme for WrestleMania across the next number of years, because they also do this at WrestleMania 32. This idea that WrestleMania is so big and it's just the apex of entertainment and sports that some of these new guys, they're not used to it. They're not used to being on these sorts of big stages. And, they might get, as Michael Cole says, the WrestleMania jitters.
Does
for
that
the Shield.
start here?
I think they've been doing it for a little while, but they really ramp it up. They do it at WrestleMania 32 because they do it for like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They do it for Fandango on this show. They do it for AJ Styles because AJ Styles has never wrestled in front of big crowds before.
Well, to be fair, not at TNA.
What? He main event at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, that's fair. But even the Tokyo Dome at that stage is
40,000.
Oh, I don't think they were doing 40,000 back then.
I think they probably were. New Japan at the height of their
I think the height comes a couple of years after.
even with Okada and Tanahashi.
I think it was about 30,000. Well, either way, this is double the size of that audience.
I guess so. And you get the
Live.
WrestleMania jitter sometimes. So the faces beat up Rollins and Roman. Big Show is not getting tagged in. And Sheamus is about to tag in Randy again, but Show tags himself in. He's had enough of not being allowed in this match. And this allows the Shield to work over the Big Show. What I really like about the Shield and what really drew me to them, and it's tantamount here as well, is they don't move like the other wrestlers, particularly Rollins and Ambrose. The way they move around the ring is so different to every other WWE wrestler.
Particularly someone like Big Show, who is quite plodding and slow. The Shield felt like they lived the gimmick in their movements, in that they're a bit velociraptor-y.
Yeah.
They'll run around and they'll attack from the sides.
Yeah. The crowd boos Sheamus as he gets the hot tag. Sheamus beats up Rollins and Ambrose, crucially not Roman. In fact, it's Roman that breaks up this hot tag.
The crowd boos Sheamus when he gets in, but they cheer and count along with all the clubs to the chest.
Exactly.
1, 2, because wrestling fans love to count.
And so, Sheamus did a lot of that within his career. They set up for the triple barrel bomb, but Show spears all of them. And then Show is about to get his hot tag, and Randy Orton tags himself in again.
From out of nowhere.
And he runs wild while Show looks annoyed. He catches Rollins doing an RKO, but Roman hits a spear, and Ambrose pins Randy Orton clean at WrestleMania while Big Show stands there and watches on. Rightly so, because Randy was a dick.
So first off, great RKO on Seth, who's just leaped off the top rope, and it's a classic Orton from out of nowhere finisher.
I think it's the third year we've actually seen it.
Yeah, it's a clean win, definitely, but it's also a win that isn't based on the Shield being better physically than their opponents. It's that they are more coherent than their opponents.
They are a team.
And that's always the story we get, and is a really good story to tell. They are so on the same page that even though they might not be able to beat Big Show or Randy Orton or Sheamus in singles competition, when they're together as a unit, they will beat another 3 guys also as a unit.
Yeah, so we saw at Elimination Chamber when they beat Sheamus, Cena, and Ryback, is that they can't work together, but the Shield are one mind, and that's what puts them over everything else.
10 minutes though. 10 minutes long.
Every match on this, apart from the main events, apart from getting to the 3 main events, is short.
This is a show of 2 halves. There's the opening 2 hours, where it's all 10-minute and below matches, and it mostly feels like a glorified B show. And then the second half, which is 3 20 to 30-minute matches, and it's all the stars.
It's when WrestleMania starts. Dave Meltzer would say nothing wrong with it, but it was hurt by the lack of heat. The finish sequence was good, but the match was nothing compared to the previous Shield matches on pay-per-view, 2.5 stars. Which I think is probably about right, I guess. Yeah.
It's just a shame that the Shield never got that big storyline match at WrestleMania.
It's not about WrestleMania 30. They kill the Attitude Era.
But yeah, like this is really a story that's, I guess Sheamus has been feuding with them on and off for a while.
Yeah.
But really, he's just a guy that they've put in that position. There's no story there.
Well,
and the other guys joined 2-3 weeks out.
I said this to you at the start of this podcast run that we were doing, but man, I think that Randy Orton was done dirty across these 3 years that we've covered. Like 3 WrestleManias in a row where Randy Orton has had nothing to do. It was a nothing match with Kane that no one was into. Was that the first year? What's he doing? Oh no, it was Punk in the first year.
Yeah.
It was sort of like a second on the card.
Decent match, though.
Decent match, but it was like not one of the marquee matches. Then it is a match with Kane that no one really was into. And now it's here just tagging with Sheamus and Big Show in the here are the 3 good guys that are going to take on the Shield this week. And it's only later on this year he becomes part of the Authority. He's going to win the title in the summer of this year. And that's really it. It's only when he turns heel. This babyface run of 3 years for Randy Orton has been really bad for him.
Yeah. But, looking back on with hindsight, you're like, oh, what a waste of Randy Orton. But at the time, I was very happy because Randy Orton was boring. I didn't like him as a heel or a babyface.
He was boring as a babyface, and he was uninteresting as a heel. So
originally, the kayfabe build for this had Ryback as part of the 3-man team. He gets taken out by the Shield, and Vicky Guerrero pulled him from that. What happened here? Vicky Guerrero pulled Ryback from the 6-man tag team match and put him in a singles match with Mark Henry. And that's when Big Show later joins the action.
It's a weird thing to do, isn't it? It's like, oh, you're far too injured to be in that match, so you're going to be in a different match instead.
Because it was Ryback and Sheamus at the Trios chamber match. That makes a bit more sense. It's just a hodgepodge of people giving the Shield something to do at WrestleMania.
Well,
missed opportunity.
I think when we get into the next match, I think I can probably explain the Vince McMahon reason as to why the decision was made to switch him out of that match and put him in the Mark Henry match instead.
Right.
But before then, we've got a video for John Cena. So the weird thing about this show is that the John Cena versus Rock match does not have the video package beforehand to be like, here's your hype video for the main event. What they instead do is 3 different videos across the show to hype you up for the main event. One focused on Cena, one focused on The Rock, and one focused on the both of them. And this first one on John Cena is what has been John Cena's big storyline of 2012 into 2013, John Cena's terrible year. And he says that he's had a complete collapse, a year of his existence destroyed because he was beaten by The Rock at WrestleMania 28. And really, Cena beat himself. He got so into the idea of beating The Rock that he didn't do his own stuff. He tried to embarrass The Rock, and that cost him the match. And, they have news articles going up about him getting divorced, about how Brock Lesnar destroyed him on Brock Lesnar's return to the company. He lost to CM Punk. And then The Rock, he wants to face The Rock again because, Rock picked Cena because no one has the drive and passion. No one apart from The Rock. But Cena's accomplished everything in his career, but he's never beaten The Rock. And this is the second chance to right the wrong of the worst year of his life. And I think you and I did the exact same thing, which is we went through what actually happened to John Cena in 2012 and 2013.
Yeah, how bad was that year, John Cena?
I can list it all for you right now.
Yeah, so we both had this realization on Monday that when we watched it, it took us way longer than we normally would preparing our notes because we both decided to work out individually what his actual win-loss record is.
So basically, what I did is I initially just looked at the pay-per-views and I wrote down everything that happened at the pay-per-views. And I was like, I'm going to go more granular. I went to Cage Match and I ignored all the house shows and stuff because John Cena's always going to win those. But I looked at all the TV and pay-per-view matches as well. And here is John Cena's 2012 into 2013. He beat David Otunga. He lost to Tensai on Raw in Extreme Rules match. He beat Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules. He and Sheamus went to a no contest against Dolph Ziggler, Swagger, and Tensai. So that's a 2-on-3 handicap match, which he did not lose. He lost to Johnny Ace when Big Show turned heel. He beat David Otunga. He beat Michael Cole. He beat Tensai. He beat Big Show at No Way Out in a steel cage match, which got Johnny Ace fired. He beat Johnny Ace and David Otunga in a handicap match, which got Johnny Ace fired. He beat Chris Jericho via DQ. He teamed with CM Punk to take on Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho, went to a no contest. He teamed with Kane to beat Jericho. He won Money in the Bank. He beat Punk twice at Raw 1000, but then Big Show caused the DQ. He became the number 1 contender to the WWE Championship because he drew with the Big Show. He beat Daniel Bryan. The finish of SummerSlam saw Cena and Punk both submit the Big Show, so AJ Lee restarted the match. Cena had the match won, but Punk stole the victory. He beat The Miz. He lost to Alberto Del Rio in a Falls Count Anywhere match. At Night of Champions, Cena versus Punk ended in a draw. He teamed with Sheamus to beat Del Rio and Punk. He teamed with Ryback to beat CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler. He beat CM Punk in a singles match in November when Punk was champion. He was again the main event of Survivor Series for the title, but lost because the Shield took out Ryback. He beat Dolph Ziggler. He beat teamed with Sheamus to beat Dolph Ziggler in the Big Show. He beat the Big Show. He He had Ziggler beat in the main event of TLC to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, but lost when AJ Lee turned heel and aligned herself with Dog. He teamed with Vicky Guerrero, but that match ended with no contest when Big E debuted. He beat Alberto Del Rio. He beat the Miz. He teamed with the Miz to beat the Rhodes Scholars. He beat Dolph Ziggler. He beat Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage match. He won the Royal Rumble. He beat Cody Rhodes. He lost to the Shield because Ryback is dumb as fuck. He beat CM Punk. He beat Darren Young.
Yes. So, if you're thinking, well, what is that like in cold hard numbers? That is a win record of TV and pay-per-view of 82.5%. He won 82.5% of all his matches that he had, including huge milestones, beating Brock Lesnar, winning the Money in the Bank, and winning the Royal Rumble.
In his worst year of his life. That's a bad year for... I mean, actually, 82% is a bad year in terms of John Cena. Pinned the WWE champion and all of that as well.
So, it's interesting to look back at this period through the lens of 2025 because John Cena finally turned heel in the build-up to WrestleMania 41. And this is the year that was originally meant to trigger Cena's heel turn. The loss to The Rock was going to make him spiral, and he was going to become heel. They had the music
I
plan.
thought that was the previous year.
But the previous year would have been
But
The
I think
Miz.
because the 28 was when they were going to do. He was going to be heel going in against Rock at 28. That's what I always thought it was. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Now I'm not confident in what I've said.
Yeah, I thought it was because The Rock was going to be so beloved, city because they were going to be in Miami. In Florida, they were going to do him as a heel for that show.
Oh, what? And then he realizes once he's beaten, that's not the way to beat The Rock.
Maybe, yeah, probably.
Comeback pay-per-views.
Hustle, loyalty, respect.
Okay, well, that's my bad.
I might be wrong in that one.
So the 82.5% thing, you're like, well, the record speaks for itself. With the divorce, because they show things of it's been like the worst year of my life professionally and personally. And I was like, what happened personally? And there's TMZ screenshots of got divorced. And I was like, when did that happen? It was July.
Yeah.
So I feel like he broke up with his wife, divorced, announced 4 months after The Rock beat him. I feel like there were issues before then.
No, it was the loss to The Rock. They were actually happy. They were fine and dandy until then. It was
And
when he lost to Tensai.
And I think Cena has been a dick, including that.
Yeah.
And blaming it on The Rock in kayfabe.
I should also point out as well, in that statistic, that 82% win-loss record, he also didn't lose a lot of matches either because they went to no contest and draws.
Oh, I sort of factored that in.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because he was only pinned 3 times in the entire year, and it was by CM Punk, Lord Tensai, and John Laurinaitis. The only times he was pinned across the entire calendar year.
CM Punk, the WWE champion, did not even beat him, really.
No. And most of the times, he actually won the matches, but then was screwed by the likes of CM Punk or, Dolph Ziggler and things like that. So, yeah, it really is not the worst year I think you could have done. But what I think I find frustrating about that is what an interesting story that would have been.
Yes.
If John Cena had lost at Mania and he then had this downward spiral where he was losing matches and loses all that confidence, and then in sort of November, December, tries to rebuild himself. So he goes into the Royal Rumble determined to win. And he overcomes the odds and he wins the Royal Rumble, but he's still got that self-doubt in him because he's going up against The Rock. Wouldn't that have been a really... But no, he just wins all the time. Then he wins the Royal Rumble, and then he wins here. But they pretend like it's been a bad time.
And the frustrating thing, additionally to that, is what you could have done with all of those John Cena losses is he could put over this new generation of people. With CM Punk's in this long title reign, Punk could keep beating John Cena, beat him a few times. Daniel Bryan could beat John Cena. Everyone we like, The Shield could beat John Cena.
Yeah, would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
Should also point out as well that in that, we actually forgot to mention this on the last episode that we did, he beat Cody Rhodes. It's the last time they had a match until WrestleMania 41.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like it was in the timeline that we're currently looking at the moment. But yeah, there you go. The star of WrestleMania 27, Snooki, is shown in the crowd.
Yay.
as we get into our next match as Mark Henry takes on Ryback.
Oh.
Spoilers, I was so surprised that Mark Henry won this match.
Yes, and it's such a god-awful finish as well. They do a recap package to say, like, oh, here's the story so far. Here's how we got here. And one of the angles was a bench press competition on SmackDown 2 weeks out from WrestleMania.
This is what WWE used to be.
And I just thought, oh my God. I forgot that was a thing that Vince would always do. It'd be like
contests.
arm wrestling, body pose downs, bench press things, stuff that only Vince cares about, really.
Because he's a big muscle fitness guy.
And it feels such a holdover from the 80s,
Mhm.
but it's not. It's still very much alive in the whole Vince time he's booking. But yeah, the stip was that Henry and Ryback could not touch. So they're doing the bench press competition. Henry gets on top of the bar, pushes it down, not technically touching Ryback.
I mean, I'm a gym guy now, so all of this stuff really appeals to me. It made me really excited to see that because I have been to the gym twice.
Yeah,
since,
it shows.
Since well, thank you. Since I signed up, I've actually technically been 3 times, but the first time I didn't actually do anything there. I was just showing around how it was worked, and I thought I'm going to stick around and do some weights and things like that. But I booked my session at 3:30, and that's when school next door finished. So the bigger boys came in, and I got too self-conscious, so I went home.
Yeah, the big boys are scary.
Bigger boys, they were really scary.
It took me, I don't know, 6 years to work up the confidence to now I can just walk into a gym. And only my gym where I know most people and to walk into the big boy section.
Oh yeah, the bigger boys were too scary. So I now go at 6:30 when those dumb kids have to, they're getting up and having their Weetabix. Or I go at lunchtime when those dumb kids are at school because, I've got a house and a mortgage and I'm cooler than they are.
A bunch of the people at my gym are wrestling fans. So they either know of me or they can talk wrestling. So I'm like, even though I'm half the size of all of them, hey, how's it going? Yeah, oh yeah, cool, yeah. Do you watch Raw last night? It's easy.
Well, in my area, I'm fortunate in the fact that my gym is mostly visited by the elderly. So I actually am bringing down the average age of people who are in the gym at any one time. By some distance, I would say, and they are all much fitter and healthier than I am. So I'm actually, although I'm bringing down the average age, I'm dragging down the average fitness level.
Yeah. You're actually biologically their age.
Yeah. And they're not afraid of the bigger boys. Anyway, so Michael Cole puts over, these are 2 strong guys, guys like Tony Atlas and Bruno Sammartino, and so they do bear hugs.
Jesus Christ. So these days, I'm so thankful that meat, as I find the meat chant annoying, actually, but I'm very happy that people have gotten into just 2 big guys wrestling again. Because it got tainted because of Vince McMahon's vision of big guy wrestling, where even though Donovan Dijak or Keith Lee can do incredibly athletic things, no, you got to work like a big guy because that's what worked in the 80s.
Yep.
When really, modern wrestling is based around, well, you're a big guy and you can do a leapfrog.
Yeah, you can do a
moonsault. That's amazing. That's the impressive thing now, not just, wow, they're so big.
It's almost like wrestling moved on. It's almost like the sport evolved.
And that's, most big guy matches now are based on really cool athletic things happening or big suplex spots. Back here, this is just such a throwback in the worst possible way, incredibly dated, even at its time. It's Mark Henry and Ryback, and they just, bear hug, and the crowd are instantly bored, chanting for someone who, by stature-wise, is incredibly small, Daniel Bryan.
So, basically, the way this goes is we have a bear hug. Henry then clotheslines him out of the ring. Ryback
Clotheslines who?
Ryback. Sorry, Big Hungry.
Big Hungry.
Ryback makes it in just at 9, and he runs right back into a bear hug. We get a body slam, and then a bear hug, and the crowd boo. And then Ryback hits his meat hook clothesline, starts his comeback, tries for the shell shock, but Henry falls on top of him, and Henry pins him. That is the whole match. It is highlighted by when Mark Henry clotheslined Big Hungry out of the ring. He shouted, "That's what I do." And Michael Cole said, and I quote, "That is indeed what he does."
At this time, Ryback had only really caught fire the previous August. He went into the WWE Championship match. He's the last two in the Royal Rumble with John Cena. I still thought at the time, and I liked Ryback. He's got this explosiveness about him. I thought he was one of the standouts of the Nexus when that was a thing back in 2010. I was still on the Ryback bandwagon in a big way. This was the match that made me go, oh, he's lame.
Yeah, what an absolute burial of Ryback. I cannot tell you how surprised we all were. Because we were like, this is a bit of a rehabilitation match for Ryback because he has gone off the boil. But he's going to get this big power match. He beats Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, and we can kind of get back. No. Mark Henry wins here. And can I give you my Vince reasoning as to why I think he was taken out of that trios match and put here? It's actually for the Raw after Mania. Because it's Cena versus Henry for the WWE Championship, and Ryback turns heel. So what you've accomplished here is Mark Henry gets a win on pay-per-view so he can challenge for the WWE Championship, and Ryback loses nothing because he's turning heel the following night anyway, and that resets his character.
Yeah, that must be what it is. I don't agree with it.
No.
I think if you're going to get behind someone, particularly on a stage like WrestleMania, just go the whole hog and have Ryback win here. The whole point of this match is for Ryback to hit the shell shocked on Mark Henry.
Yeah.
Which is, if you've not seen it, it's where he hoists him up into his...
fireman's carry.
Yeah, fireman's carry. And then what happens?
And then he drops them.
But
it's not like an AA drops them. It's more like, an impressive move.
And Ryback does that. And I think he tries at an earlier point in the match. Pretty dated match psychology, but if you're going to do this kind of match, that's the way to do it. Ryback is going to hit the physical feat of strength that he just showed you he was struggling with. You've proven that you've overcome an obstacle there. It's a more satisfying narrative journey.
Mm-hmm.
But he lifts up Henry, and not only can he not do it, and then Henry hits his finishing move on him instead.
No, Henry doesn't finish.
No, I'm saying not only does he not do that.
Sorry.
Henry just falls on him.
Yeah.
And that's the pin.
Ollie, did you not see the post-match? He then hit the move on Mark Henry. So who's the real winner?
Yeah, nobody. Nobody looks good.
No, it's Mark Henry.
No,
Mark
because
Henry won the match.
No, because Henry, but then he got laid out visually. Everyone can see what a lame-o he is. Ryback, also a lame-o because he pinned him. He hit a move that pinned himself. This is rubbish.
It's so bad.
And it's the finishes. It wasn't a good match anyway. But WWE's finish booking, like for ages before this and ages after this, is goddamn terrible. We talked about it at the Chamber. This is not how you build new stars. It's not how you build baby faces, and it's not how you build heels. They are bad at wrestling.
It is an absolute burial of Ryback. But again, tomorrow's the reset, so it doesn't actually matter what you did at WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer would say match lacked heat and just didn't click. They had EMTs hit the ring to give the idea that Ryback was injured. Then Henry went back after him, but Ryback made a comeback and hit the shell shock. That was supposed to be the big moment and pop, but the crowd didn't react anywhere near what they should have been expected. Half a star. So you might have noticed I didn't have a review of Brian Alvarez. Alvarez didn't actually write up a review of this show and give star ratings and stuff, and Vinny V didn't do one either. But I have got some comments and thoughts from Alvarez throughout this. And he writes here, in another baffling booking decision, Ryback lost clean to Mark Henry the night before to set up John Cena's challenger for the WWE title at Extreme Rules. Seriously, that is the main event of Extreme Rules, is Cena versus Ryback. The original plan was for Henry to lose, and then late last week, the betting lines, yes, there are places that take bets on worked wrestling matches, went crazy in the other direction. And when I asked someone in WWE, I was told that, in fact, it now appeared that Henry was going over. The idea was that since Ryback was turning heel, it didn't matter if Henry beat him, because when you go heel, that's a character reset. I absolutely would not have booked him to lose that match, particularly since he still laid out and beat up Henry afterwards, but that's what they did, and that's the next match on the docket. So not only is it a character reset thing, it's a betting odds thing. Swerve the marks.
Yeah. Oh, wow, great. Yeah, because it worked out so well for Ryback in the long run, didn't it? That heel Ryback turn. Also, this kind of match is not what people want from Ryback. It's like when WWE got Goldberg. Oh, yeah, that's make him sell for a while. It's not what you do. Ryback is in there to beat people and hit big moves and look cool and not expose his weaknesses, which is everything else.
Yeah, that's good. Well, now he's going to go in as the heel to work over John Cena. So I'm sure. I mean, I haven't seen Extreme Rules 2013, but I can't imagine it is a stone cold classic. We get more of the those Power Slammer toys that play themselves. Because why would you want toys that you have to play with?
Cole, yeah. So if you've not seen the previous episode, it's like you wind them up and then they just have a sort of
They roll around.
weird fit. Hitting each other.
The tagline of the toy is, it is a toy that plays itself, which just seems so counterintuitive to what toys are supposed to be.
Cole describes them here as kid-powered. Which I don't know, it gives me a visual of chucking children into a furnace.
So that's the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
We now have a new partnership with the Special Olympics, and the Special Olympics are shown on the ramp with Stephanie McMahon and the Governor of America, Chris Christie.
A charity promo.
Done by Stephanie McMahon, who's probably got a promo skill of 5. Up next for the WWE Tag Team Championships, it's Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston versus Team Hell No. Big night for Dolph Ziggler because he has promised all year long that he is going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase in the main event of WrestleMania 29. So let me tell you that me and my friends out there were very excited. I had made my big prediction was they end the night with all the gold. And so they're going
to win the tag belts
win the tag titles here, and then Dolph Ziggler ends the night as WWE champion.
Oh, sweet, young, innocent, optimistic Luke.
Well, it's not, I mean, they were saying on TV that is the angle they were going to do.
He's a heel.
No. There's a difference between being a heel and just then, like, because if you'd have been a heel and gone in and failed, you at least paid off on what you've been telling people on TV. This is actually, I think, WWE false advertising more than it is anything else. This is The Miz saying, I'm going to cash in on the pay-per-view. So I bought the pay-per-view, and then he did it the following night on free for TV on Raw, which then made me not buy pay-per-views afterwards because I'd been lied to.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. It is also me being a sweet, naive child who was, at this point, 27. I didn't mention this earlier as well. I had my life-changing moments in all of this where I realized I was unhappy in my relationship, and I'm very soon to be breaking up with my long-term partner, and then going on a bit of a singles run.
Uh-oh. Watch out. Reading. Lock up your daughters.
Recap of Raw where Big E led by Dolph pinned Brian. So Big E sort of helped and Dolph pinned Brian to get that, and Big E also overpowered Kane. So this is very much pushing Big E is the big power guy in this, because that is what Vince McMahon likes. It's the big power guys.
There's only so many wrestling archetypes that Vince has, and one of them is the heel champion who can wrestle really well, but really they're there to build the big power guy as the heater. This sort of Shawn Michaels Diesel dynamic.
We also have a tag team name for them as well, Big E and Ziggy.
At least it's not Team Big E and Ziggy.
Michael Cole or Jerry Lawler says that AJ has dated everyone in the ring apart from the referee.
Has she? She's not. Did she have a thing with Kane?
No, I think they were just making.
They're making a joke.
They're just making jokes.
I really like the opening of this match, though.
They play off the 18 seconds.
Yeah, because AJ gets on the apron. She has a big smooch with Dolph Ziggler, and he turns around right into a Brian running knee, I think it is.
Psycho knee, yeah.
And that's exactly what happened on the previous year's WrestleMania when Brian did that, got hit by a bro kick from Sheamus and lost. And that's what started the big yes, no chant movement. But here it was just to set up an early near fall. But in a big way,
really good playoff.
This feels like a modern match in that the finisher was hit immediately.
Yeah. And it's playing off. See, it's rewarding you as a fan for seeing
Yeah.
last year's WrestleMania. Biggie gets tagged in, so Brian tags in Kane, and Biggie starts throwing Kane around. And they do the usual thing they do on commentary, which is JBL saying, like, I've never seen Kane thrown around the ring like this before, despite the fact that Kane at this point has been wrestling since since the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But as the Kane character, certainly since 1998, and has been thrown around a lot like this before. The heels work over Kane. Brian breaks up a zigzag. Kane kicks out of a second one, and there's a smattering of boos because people were quite into Dolph Ziggler at this point. AJ slides in the briefcase, which does not work. Chokeslam, diving headbutt, Team Hell No retain. Not much of a match.
6 minutes long.
And in a year's time, Daniel Bryan will be WWE champion.
I feel like this match is only on there to pacify the crowd. Oh, you like Team Hell No, you like Dolph Ziggler, who we put the Money in the Bank briefcase on. Here it is.
Yeah.
And you are right, actually. It does feel a bit like, if I'm meta watching this at the time, oh, they've done this for Ziggler to throw us off the scent for the cash-in later.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's a nothing match.
It's a really, really nothing match. And what I think is even weirder, there's no dissension between Bryan and Kane, which is what they spent the Rumble. Like, Bryan eliminates Kane from the Rumble. They did all that. Kane then drops Bryan in the Rumble. They had the dissension spots in the Elimination Chamber. And none of that is here in this match. They just have a normal match and they're friends.
And it's not long-term booking or anything. It's just this was a couple of weeks out. The story started to be built because Vince thought all fans are dumb.
Yeah.
And they cannot take long-term booking only for the top matches.
I don't know why this is not Kane versus Bryan. With
It should be.
You turn Kane heel and you start the big baby, because this crowd erupt into yes chants. Like, surely, and I mean, I know I'm saying obvious things here, and I know what the answer is, but surely you can't be that thick backstage to look at this crowd reaction and think to yourself, I'm not pushing him.
They're not thick. They just don't like the audience.
Could be that, yeah.
And I would say they're arrogant rather than thick. I guess you could say those aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they don't like the fans, and they don't like Daniel Bryan because he is small and doesn't eat meat.
And got over by himself.
That's the point number 3. Dave Meltzer would say this match was killed by being so shortchanged on time. First, it made them rush too early, and they were going into the near falls before the crowd was ready, and the people were no way ready for the finish when it came. It's too bad because Bryan and Ziggler, had the chance to be one of the best matches on the show, 2.25 stars. So Dave Meltzer would also say, this is some notes I didn't have, I peppered them throughout the show actually. On the world title front, Dolph Ziggler cashed in Money in the Bank on Raw instead of the pay-per-view. It was a huge moment with the live crowd going crazy. In many ways, because people wanted that special moment at Mania. They were chanting for Ziggler all through Del Rio versus Swagger, and they were mad they didn't get him coming out. It made the reaction even stronger when he did cash in on Raw. It was a really awesome spot. Ziggler's win was put over by Michael Cole like it was a babyface win. Dating back to his program with John Cena, it was clear that Ziggler was going to end up as a babyface at some point. But on SmackDown the next night, he was still a heel, making the point that he won the title in spite of the crowd, not because of them, and wrestled Chris Jericho in the SmackDown main event.
Just go with it.
Fucking right. Like, do you see that crowd reaction on Raw? And your decision there is to have him do a You People promo. It's Becky Lynch in 2017 at SummerSlam. The crowd are so into her. She turns heel and then does a promo where, like, you never supported me. Motherfucker, like, we're watching. I'm watching the same show you are. In many ways, Raw the next night came off as more entertaining. It was the same audience, the most hardcore of hardcore fans, but when they were seemingly protesting, they were having a good time. But on SmackDown the next night, it became clear that what happened on Raw may have just stayed on Raw.
Oh yeah, SmackDowns were Tuesdays back then.
Yeah. Well, might have been taped on Tuesdays, but aired later in the week. But yeah, it was the following night. It was taped on Tuesday. So Dolph Ziggler does cash in one of the all-time great cash-ins. It's so great. I think I watched it on the train, like going to my job, and I had to version of YouTube. I found like the clip because I don't know if WWE loaded the clip or anything like that, but I watched it on the train the following day, and it is just so awesome.
Did you pop in the train?
Well, I knew it happened because I woke up in the morning, and as I always did, I then listened to Wrestling Observer Radio. Where
I would always avoid spoilers, still do.
Well, I wasn't watching Raw because I didn't have access to Raw, so I never watched the weekly shows. I just listened to Brian and Dave review the shows.
Da, da. Da 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 da
Da,
da
da,
da
da, da, da,
da
da,
da
da,
da
da, da,
da
da,
da.
da. Oh, well, the we're doing da da really should be.
So, God, that's obnoxious.
That's, it's that every few weeks until he came back to the UK.
Who is?
Fandango.
Yeah, but who is? The last thing on here is Only Connect. When I showed you that I got that one question right,
That was like 2 months ago.
yeah, it was the Colt Cabana's comedy partner. He's an Australian. He had like an Edinburgh show.
Oh, yeah.
Very loud guy, very funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the one who claims to have started fandangoing.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
think
believe it.
this is a lot like, Tempest claims that he started, that Cash has got a gun at All In,
Yeah.
which a lot of people have claimed. I've claimed that I started a TNA chance when Christian Cage and Sting were in the ring together at the same time at All In, which I did. I did start a TNA chant, and other people did pick up on it. But I don't think I can lay claim to I am the reason that a lot of people chanted for TNA, because I can't have been the only person at that show who was like, they were both in TNA together.
Out of the 40, 50,000 people, I'm unique here.
80,000 for that first one.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah,
very much.
sorry.
The turnstile count, do you want to email the council? It's important we know these things. But anyway, yeah, up next, it is the debuting Fandango taking on Chris Jericho in a please put him over, Chris match. We'll reward you in the summer.
Yeah, this is a shame because I really feel like watching this period back and at the time, they were building a big Jericho Ziggler WrestleMania storyline. Back at Raw 1000 that we reviewed, that's where they were sort of put together on the same trio's side. They started the Royal Rumble off together when Ziggler was out first, then Jericho comes out in a shock return. It'd only been gone for 5 months, but it was awesome. I was like, right, that is the way you reheat this feud and you build to a WrestleMania match. And you got to think that might have been a plan before Vince got a boner for Fandango, because what is the Money in the Bank holder just has a random tag match. I get it. I know it's for the tag team titles, but come on.
Yeah, well, Jericho, I think, was pushing for a match with Ryback, and that's what he wanted to do, because that's a big, marquee match. He's one of their sort of tippity-top guys. But the idea here is that you're using Jericho to establish this new star that we want to push in Fandango, because Vince really likes the character, which is a very 80s thing, or kind of 90s thing, I suppose, which is you are a blank and a wrestler. You are a dustbin man and a wrestler. You are a dentist and a wrestler. He is a ballroom dancer and a wrestler.
Yeah.
And it's
in 2013.
It's quite clear why they picked Chris Jericho, is because Fandango is mocking Chris Jericho going on Dancing with the Stars.
Be a star.
But all of this is over Chris Jericho mispronouncing Fandango's name,
which they do a recap video package of, is funny. Jericho doing that sort of comedy riff.
It's like 99 Chris Jericho.
Yeah, but I don't mind that. That's funny. Fandumbo, Danny DeVito. He keeps getting it wrong. I like it.
I've written here, Jericho seems very pissed off what is a nothing fuse. This is the Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest of its day.
I will make this work. And, Jericho, he doesn't complain at the time. He's a professional. I've been given this Fandango thing. Yep. That's what you want me to do, boss. Okay, I'll do my best to get him over.
You all right?
We are recording.
We're recording, yeah.
What do you want?
Who said it was going to be okay? Laurie. Laurie.
Sorry. We're just looking for another
Camera charger?
Camera charger, anyone?
He's shaking his head. What about that one that's plugged into the news cam?
Yeah, take the news one.
Yeah.
As long as you give it back.
Just bring it back.
Bring it back. We'll need it for tomorrow.
Little peek behind the curtain there.
On the free feed, no less.
Yeah. Wow.
We usually cut this sort of stuff out.
Yeah, we are running low on camera cables.
Because some of them are broken.
But yeah,
I would,
Fandango.
I would say not a lot happened early in this match. The match kind of kicks off when Jericho kicks out of the leg drop, which was this supposedly protected finisher. No one kicks out of the leg drop, and then Jericho does kick out of the move here. And the crowd are into Jericho. He tries for the walls, but Fandango gets out of that. He hits another clothesline and knocks Jericho off the top rope. But he misses his second leg drop. Jericho misses the lion salt because Fandango was far too close to the ropes. Goes for the walls. Fandango rolls him up and gets the win.
9 minutes long.
Yeah, and what we recap there was basically the last 2 minutes of it.
Yes. Because the previous 6-7 minutes was Jericho beating Fandango up.
So yeah, that. So here's what I can go into there because what Meltzer trying to explain what they were going for here. The psychology here was interesting. I felt Fandango had the most pressure on him and had to win. He did win, but the match came across like Jericho was carrying him to a good match as opposed to him looking good. Plus, the announcers were burying Fandango with Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas references. This is what they wanted. So the only thing I can come up with is they want to make Fandango the new honky-tonk man. In the sense that the heat with the fans thinks that he stinks, isn't tough, but he keeps on winning.
Ugh. It's another one of the Vince McMahon archetypes.
Yeah. But 5 minutes in, JBL was talking about how great Fandango was doing, having survived this long without being beaten when he was in there with a surefire Hall of Famer. Which makes me think that JBL just didn't get the memo. So the idea is that Fandango's rubbish, but he still wins. But JBL, because he doesn't do any, he goes to any production meetings, is like, he's hanging in there with surefire Hall of Famer, look how great Fandango's doing.
Or he does, and WWE changed their minds multiple times that day over what the presentation should be.
Yeah. Dave Meltzer gave that 3 stars.
Generous.
Brian Alvarez, okay, so I'm going to think from Alvarez, but I have got interviews from Fandango and Jericho talking about this match. Fandango said in an interview, I think Jericho was under the impression that he might have been working someone else going into Mania 29. Chris, I think personally likes me, but he's not too excited about wrestling a ballroom dancer at WrestleMania, which I can understand.
Yeah.
Jericho said, I had to construct a whole way of building this match over 4 weeks to make people give a shit about it. And I think we did a good job of that because the next night after WrestleMania, the guy was like the most popular guy in the business because they were all doing his stupid dance. He had this awful theme, sounding like that song, I Dream of Jeannie. And it was like a top 30 hit in England on iTunes. And I guarantee a week or two later, everyone was looking at their iPhones and wondering, why the fuck did I buy that? Can I erase this, please? So people would do this and sing his song with about a month and a half later. The whole thing was like the pet rock of wrestling. It was a huge fad and it died just right afterwards to where now the guy had to start over again from scratch and build his way back up. But for a while, he was a contender.
So Jericho has retconned the Fandango meme as for him being responsible for putting on this match.
That's exactly right.
Whereas what it really is in truth is the fans thought everything was rubbish, so they made their own fun.
Bingo. Fandango, this is an interesting one. He did another interview. He said, I remember that Vince didn't want us to have a wrestling match. He wanted Chris to beat the shit out of me for like 5 minutes. They gave us too much time. So the way that it was supposed to be, I think, was Chris just beats the shit out of me and I roll him up out of nowhere. So it was supposed to be like the biggest upset. But I think they gave us like 10 minutes. So it ended up being more. It was way too much time for what Vince wanted.
Yeah. Again, the tag team match of Hell No versus Dolph Ziggler and Big E was 6 minutes long. Did they just get the timings mixed up on the call sheet?
I just want to reiterate that again. Vince McMahon wanted this to be a 5-minute match, and then they made it a 10-minute match, and then Vince was like, that is not what I wanted. You make the show!
Yeah.
If you wanted it to be a 5-minute match, just make it a 5-minute match. It's not like they went out there and did 10 minutes and you were like, man, you guys went way over time there. No, they did to the time you asked them to do and then had to go at them for not doing the thing you asked them to, or for doing the thing you asked them to do.
We haven't spoke about Not Summer Rae. So Fandango comes out here and I'm like, that's not Summer Rae.
Yeah.
What? It is professional ballroom dancer Andrea Lynn.
Who does do some very nice dancing.
Yeah, but has not done anything of note since that I can find. And yeah, Summer Rae would replace her in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, I think they've been doing that on the house shows with Summer Rae, who's in NXT at the moment. I can talk about this, though. Dave Meltzer writes, Raw was all about the crowd. It was reminiscent of the ECW arena, except it was 13,000 people instead of 1,000. The crowd, very European in its makeup, acted like a soccer crowd with constant chants and singing. The thing that everyone was into was singing Fandango's music. It took place all through the third hour of the show. The company went with it, and after the show, played his music again. In leaving the building, people were in a celebratory mood, still singing his song. Cars were honking their horns to the song. At the train station, people were singing. It appears when the show was over, the Fandango song was going to be this year's version of Yes, which is still going strong a year later. And maybe it will be. But in Boston, it was the opposite reaction. Fandango got the "you can't wrestle" treatment and was viewed at the same heel as he was a week earlier by most of the fans there. The Boston TV crowd usually boos Cena, even though it's his hometown, but this was a more kid-orientated crowd and he was cheered like crazy. So after the show was over and the dark match ended, Cena followed up with everyone's fun to try and make people sing Fandango's theme. He tried and he hummed it, and this led to the babyface in the crowd that he was over with. Some bought into it, but the reaction we were told is most didn't care. He brought Fandango to the ring and the crowd booed him, and he was clearly playing heel. Fandango said how Boston didn't deserve him, and Cena called him fan douchebag, then laid him out. He took a chokeslam from Kane and then a chokeslam from Bryan, and all the faces left the ring. He was selling the beating and did his "My Name is Fandango" deal while selling. They ended the show playing his music. There were people singing along. How many probably depends on where you were in the building, because I had people who were there at Raw who said it died and almost immediately, and nobody did, another said blah, blah, blah. The general reaction seemed to be that a few tried to start singing, but it didn't pick up. There was a campaign going on after TV in the UK to get Fandango's theme to number 1, and it reached as high as number 11 at press time, and the hope was to keep it running through the week so it gets mainstream play on the weekend top 40 rundown. I remember this being such a big deal. However, as Brian Alvarez points out, and I'd forgotten as to why Fandangoing did not take off as much, and granted, it was never going to. Like, number 11 is probably about where it should have got to, because wrestling is not as huge of a mainstream thing. Brian Alvarez writes, at press time, Fandango's theme is number 11 on the UK iTunes charts. There was a movement among wrestling fans after WrestleMania to get it to number 1. It's unlikely to happen due to another movement which has been attempted successfully at press time to get Ding Dong the Witch is Dead to number 1 in reference to the recent passing of Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, yeah, my dad didn't like that. He thought it was disrespectful.
I did.
You did also think it was disrespectful?
No. I did not buy the song, but I did think it was funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
Because, she did ruin this country.
She was a bit of a heel.
she was pretty awful.
The Fandangoing thing, just like the previous year in my office at 4 Music, yes. If there was a bit of quiet, like a period of silence overcame the office, and then Mike would start going, and then before you know it, there's 4 of us, and everyone else is like, you nerds. Because wrestling wasn't cool back then.
I can't remember if we actually did get on board with the Fandangoing. I thought we did think it was...
I loved Fandangoing.
I'm pretty sure we thought it was very funny and entertaining, but I don't think we, like in our office culture, were doing Fandangoing. I don't think we... I mean, and it died off very quickly.
Yes, yeah.
We've got a recap of The Miz beating Wade Barrett for the IC title on the pre-show. So that Cesaro feud didn't go anywhere.
Ugh, babyface Miz. But he's the Intercontinental Champion now.
Yeah. So what happened is, obviously, last time we saw Miz on Elimination Chamber was he got DQ'd in that match with Cesaro when Cesaro kicked out Miz's leg and Miz accidentally low-blowed Cesaro. So he did beat Cesaro on the Raw after the Chamber in a non-title match. And then he beat Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. And then he lost to Jack Swagger on Raw and then lost to Cesaro in a 2 out of 3 falls match on SmackDown, ending off that feud.
Sure.
He then beat Dolph Ziggler on the old school Raw and drew with Jericho for a number 1 contendership to the IC title. Then lost to Barrett in a triple threat on Raw with Jericho and then beat Barrett in a non-title match. Then he wins the IC title here on the pre-show. The next night on Raw, he loses it back to Barrett.
But did he really?
Yeah, he loses it the next night back to Barrett.
What's the point?
That feud goes on until June, where Curtis Axel wins the IC title at Payback in a triple threat with Barrett and Miz.
And that's Curtis with Paul Heyman by that point?
Oh, and it might not be with Paul Heyman.
Is that the year after?
I think it's actually later on this year because Heyman split.
No, it's got to be this year.
So yeah, because Heyman splits with Punk.
Yeah.
In like the summer, And that's when I think he then gets his new Paul Heyman guys. But I don't think Curtis Axel debuts on the main roster with being a Heyman guy.
Okay.
I don't recall that being so anyway.
Him and Ryback, fearsome faction.
Ryback. Dave Meltzer said, aside from the WWE and World title changes this past week, the only other title change was the IC title, where Miz won from Wade Barrett at WrestleMania, only to lose it back the next night. Miz is filming a made-for-TV movie for ABC called Christmas Bounty. Given that it's the IC title, which is anything but a money belt, it really doesn't matter what they do with it. The match was moved to the pre-show of Mania and cut to 4 minutes. I've no idea why with a 60-minute pre-game show and you only have one match, let alone cut it to 4 minutes.
It's always weird. I know that's the way it has to be, but the idea of shooting anything Christmas themed, not in the months of November or December, always surprises me.
Yeah.
Of course they're filming Christmas Bounty in April.
Yeah.
They don't film it mid-November to get it out 1st of December.
It is pretty awesome though. To like we're building up this Miz as a babyface star. Give him the win at WrestleMania. Oh, he's leaving to do a movie. Get the belt off. The next night. We then get a video of The Rock. This is The Rock's video, and he talks about the strength, my connection with the fans, and they have clips around the world who say that they are one of the millions. I am one of the millions. I am one of the people that like The Rock.
Cringe.
It is cringe.
They feel like stock footage.
Which is weird because they definitely are like filmed for this.
Yeah, but they feel like extras who have been told to do this line.
Yeah,
not like actual Rock fans.
They're not Rock fans. Don't be silly. I have found where am I at? 1 hour 12. We're gonna watch some of this video, but there is a kid in all of this. It's hard to see what actually time you're at on Netflix because they don't have the timer going.
She's not one. No, she's not one either. I believe him. Yeah, him maybe. Not her, not him.
Who's before this?
Not her. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't even know what he's just been told on the street. She doesn't know.
Where is this kid? There's a kid in this video. I hate Netflix. This move to Netflix has been a fucking disaster for WWE. There he is.
Fast.
So there's this kid who's going to do like Rock poses. And I don't know why they decided to include this kid because he does not look like he gives a shit. Look at him. How bored that kid looks. Around my notes here, he's got 0 riz. Look at this kid.
Yeah, he's got no riz.
How did this kid make it into the edit?
He's probably 23 now. What's he doing all the way up there?
His hand's in his pocket.
Yeah, screw that kid.
We get a video of great WrestleMania moments, but it's not full screen. It's just we are watching people watch a video.
Yes.
It's really weird. And it's because it's a concert performance for P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
This is the Amarillo music video of its day.
Yeah, can't edit around this guy, though.
No.
He's all over it. He raises up through the stage and he hypes them up. And then it is some of the most desperate 6 minutes of WrestleMania performance I've seen. Because he's just like, but gone, let's wave your hands. Please wave your hands.
Well, I think part of the problem is he keeps saying New York. He keeps going like, let me hear it, New York. Show us how do you like to party here in New York. And the crowd are like, we're not there.
New York are like, I'm so cold. And we're in New Jersey.
He does start yeeting at one point, though.
Oh, wow. It's kind of a medley performance like they do. The woman walks out and she goes, the No Place Like Home song for Mania. And then Cole, I love this, at the end. Michael Cole thanks P. Diddy on commentary for being their global ambassador for the Be a Star anti-bullying campaign. It's almost like a lot of people used to use charitable causes to hide the alleged bad things they do.
I just wrote my notes again. Uh-oh.
This lasted the same amount of time as Hell No's in-ring action.
Well, you had to cut time somewhere. Up next for the World Heavyweight Championship. Sadly, there is no Alex Jones involved in this angle, but it is Alberto Del Rio defending against the real American Jack Swagger.
In the video package, which had a lot of clips of the Zeb Coulter Jack Swagger act, which, however you felt about it, was presented really well, I think. Like the visual imagery, the catchphrases, the promos. And yeah, it's all filmed like Zeb Coulter has this crackpot YouTube channel and he's spouting these theories off on it. It said, "We the People Zeb." I was like, that's a YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
And no content on it.
No, they've prohibited all the videos from there or deleted all of them. They were up there for a good number of years after this act died off. But sadly, it is not there anymore.
Del Rio cuts a promo on the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, he bloody loves America, doesn't he?
Give me you're tired, you're weary. Because the idea is he is defending the idea of US welcoming migrants. And that's why they're in the shadow of New York, of the Statue of Liberty. And then Zeb's like, Del Rio isn't one of us.
Yeah.
This is a well, like, if this was a story and you take all the sort of wrestling baggage that comes with it, makes total sense.
It does. And
the evil racist is being challenged by the moral babyface from Mexico.
Yeah, and who was telling the story that immigration's a good thing, because America is a wonderful place, and I am the living proof of how great America is in welcoming people to it. The American Alberto Del Rio, ignoring the fact that his gimmick was he was already rich, he is living proof of the American dream. And I think it's going to be building up a tag team match of Zeb and Swagger versus Del Rio and the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, that would have been brilliant. From Tyler Breeze's NXT entrance a couple of years later.
Yes! Although, it doesn't bode well for Jack Swagger in all of this that he gets a jobber entrance.
Yeah, he's already in the ring. Zeb's cutting a promo. But there's like a doom buggy at ringside that they must have come out in. Why didn't we get to see that?
Yeah, and listen to his awesome music.
Yeah. Zeb talks about how New York is a cesspool of criminals, illegals. They speak Spanish, Italian, Greek. And I'm like, I just thought it was anti-immigration in Mexico's direction. And he's going like, Greek. And he goes something called Yiddish. I'm like, wow, he's being so over the top as this cartoon racist sort of person. I really do think, looking back on it, this is a parody.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's what Alvarez was saying when we talked about this in the Elimination Chamber episode. Alvarez was going on to radio shows because people are interviewing him, someone who is of Mexican descent, to be like, oh, so you're offended by this? It's like, no, it's just, it's wrestling. Yeah. And these are characters on TV. And it's so clearly a parody character of the Alex Jones types. He even said they're plotting things that we just don't know about, which is classic conspiracy theory.
It's actually a really well performed parody of those sorts of people. Arguably too well performed.
That's
because a lot of people were like, this is real. Yeah. This is what they actually think.
WWE have gone too far with this.
But the problem with WWE is they were often a heel promotion under Vince, right? Like when their characters say like fat shaming things on Mickey James, it doesn't feel like that's a bad character doing it. It feels like it's the company doing it.
It's the company being a star.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that is its problem, which is funny as well, because one of the things that WWE under the Vince era came under fire for from fans is that it didn't know the art of subtlety. And here, they are not being subtle about this being a parody and being over the top. And people are like, whoa, this is too real, man. It's too real. What is it? You're too afraid to say something. You're too gutless to do anything about it. So the story of this match, aside from Swagger is this character and he won the Elimination Chamber. They broke the ankle of Ricardo Rodriguez with the Patriot Lock. So Ricardo comes out on crutches and they show lots of Mexican flags in the crowd. And Cole's like, the Statue of Liberty casts a shadow over this match, and there's loads of pyro for Alberto Del Rio. And then I think we're going to get a little bit of a glimpse into the future here, because, backstage at this show is, of course, The Rock. He's looking to, maybe add some new things to his gimmick when he comes back in a few years' time.
Oh, I know what you're going to do. So this is Del Rio's entrance.
Yep.
He's just had the pyro. Del Rio's in his sort of cool boxing robe. He's taken off his championship. He's posing in the corner.
Yeah, posing with the belts. As if before, the timestamps are all wrong. Have Netflix changed the timestamps on this? Or is it the timestamps?
It's a little bit. Are you going to say he does his sort of arm tapping thing that The Rock does with
yeah.
Goosebumps?
It's all on this entrance.
Because what he's doing is, I'm going to break your arm. It's the
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to do my cross arm breaker on you.
Oh, I thought it was just Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. No.
I'm afraid not. Yeah, he does the Rock's arm pose. I apologise that did not come off as well as I hoped. I don't like this new Netflix era.
JBL immediately, speaking of glimpses into the future, says, hey, Zeb's just defending freedom of speech. He should be allowed to say whatever he wants. And then Michael Cole says, yeah, but what he's saying is wrong and dangerous. They've just summed up the culture wars for the next 10 years. Those are the left and right sides of the debate.
Exactly. And we're still feeling the ramifications of this here in 2025.
WWE, wrestling tends to do things before everything else because they don't have the sort of they race to the bottom quicker.
Yeah. And they were right once here. They were here right again. ADR starts off hot, but Swagger shuts him down. Hits a Vader bomb for a 2 count. This match is fine, I guess. It doesn't feel like a World Heavyweight Championship match because at this point, this is just a mid-card belt.
It doesn't feel like a World Heavyweight Championship match, nor the climax of a big inter-country level blood feud.
Yeah.
It just feels like a match. The crowd aren't particularly into it as well. I think that hurts it a lot.
Yeah. We get they do some moves and some kickouts. They often go into the Patriot lock, but they cross it, reverse that into the arm breaker. Swagger powers out of it at one point and gets the Patriot lock on again, but Del Rio gets the ropes. He keeps it locked in and then puts it on again while Del Rio is still within the ropes, which I thought was a cool spot. He's getting the 5 count, and then Del Rio is still within the ropes. So he just goes back and puts it on again, even though he knows it's not going to cause a tap out. He's just doing the damage with the 5 counts. He avoids a second gut wrench, hits the enziguri. Zeb puts Swagger's foot on the ropes. Zeb then kicks the crutches out from Ricardo, and then Swagger uses this to attack Del Rio. He gets back in the ring, runs right into the cross armbar for the win.
Yeah. 10 minutes total.
It's fine.
It just lacks the intensity. I feel like Del Rio and Big Show had more intensity than this. So I've got to kind of blame it on Swagger. The act is great. Zeb Coulter's promo delivery is fantastic. Del Rio, I don't like the babyface character, but it worked against Big Show and he was getting big crowd reactions there. I think this is a case of Swagger is a good wrestler technically, but when the bell rings, it just whatever that spark is does not translate into the ring and people switch off.
I also wonder if the arrest has an effect on this. Because we talked about this on the Elimination Chamber show, and I think we might have talked about it on the Rumble one as well. But Swagger gets arrested shortly after he wins the Elimination Chamber for DUI, and I think that from once that happens, that his push is pretty much over. But sort of the backstage reaction as well is that he just was not getting over to the level that they wanted him to be at.
But then that's no excuse for not connecting in the ring. I just think that comes more down to him as a performer.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to find this great shot of Zeb Coulter, of course, Dutch Mantel. But yeah, my timestamps are also weirdly off.
It's off by sort of 5 to in some cases 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It feels like. It feels like Netflix have re-uploaded this video since I last watched it with different timestamps.
Yeah, maybe they've edited out something bad Triple H did. I've just got to. Hopefully, this is it. If not, we'll move on. But yeah, Zeb's face.
I think it's before this.
Oh my God, it's before that.
Yeah.
So it's before the replay, probably.
It might actually be there if they were panning across.
Yeah. So I'm going to find it now.
Yeah. We've come this far. It was brilliant.
Oh my God, it's 1 hour 40:50 is what my timestamp is. And we're now so far behind that. Let's just go to the finish. Okay, so he's just done it.
And
No, stop cutting to you, Michael Stratton.
There
it is.
Yeah.
Ah, look at that face. That's the act. That's who you want to see wrestle and get their ass kicked,
Well,
not Jack Swagger.
He wrestles on Raw the following night.
Oh, yeah, maybe not that much.
Dave Meltzer would say, crowd was chanting with Ziggler during this match and even more so afterwards and were really mad that he didn't come out. A lot of the crowd treated this as their intermission, which is kind of sad considering how much time and energy they've spent building it. Match itself was fine, but didn't really get over 2 3/4 stars. And Alvarez would say, okay, but not great. And it came off more like Jericho. Actually, Alvarez had nothing to say about this match.
They then cut to Michael Stratton, I think is how you say it, who's a football player from the time. But they cut to him with a name bar while Del Rio is mid-celebration. And just to me, that's a bit of a snapshot into WWE's problems at the time. They had that name bar graphic ready to go. They already knew that it wasn't just like, oh, he's in the crowd.
It's the second time they've cut to him.
Yeah.
You just found it there.
Like, we're going to cut to him at the expense of Del Rio retaining the championship in this very racially charged storyline.
Yeah.
They don't care about the wrestling. They care about the stars who are around ringside.
I think it's a potentially case-by-case basis as well. I think what it speaks to is that WWE do not see this as a top title. You know, and they haven't done for a while.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, evidence of that. Him retaining the World Heavyweight Championship is less important than us showing a famous football player at ringside. That is more important than the World Heavyweight Championship.
So we get a charity corporate video thing again, a charity promo of the National Guard and how WWE support them and the efforts against Hurricane Sandy. And by this point, we have 2 hours, 5 minutes left, well over half the show, for just 3 matches.
Yeah.
And these are the 3 actual WrestleMania matches.
This is when the show actually starts and starts to feel like WrestleMania. And when I say that, one of the 3 is good. Because up next, in the show-stealing match, it is CM Punk versus The Undertaker. A match where CM Punk says that he walked backstage and was told that should have been the main event. And he responded, well, why wasn't it there?
Because The Rock was there.
Because The Rock was there. Question for you, and this is a question that's been brought up quite a few times about this match, and I'll get your take on this. The build for this, is the build for this match made all the better because of the sad passing of Paul Bearer? Or do you think that, because some people think it's quite exploitative of the Paul Bearer death, and there are other people being like, what were they going to do had Paul Bearer not died?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite an easy story. It's like CM Punk is the ultimate cynic. He is going to prove Undertaker, Triple H couldn't do it. I don't think your magic, like Triple H was trying to prove that Undertaker was a defeatable man. Like he's a man like any other. I think that's different to CM Punk trying to prove that Undertaker does not have supernatural powers. One is actively disrespectful towards the gimmick. The other one is more like, here's a humanizing story with the Triple H version. So I think you could have always told that story of Punk like, the lightning bolts don't frighten me. The smoke around your entrance doesn't frighten me because you don't have supernatural powers, Undertaker. I don't care what all these idiots grew up thinking. You fooled them all. You're not going to fool me. And then you tell the story in the match, which they kind of do in that great Anaconda Vice setup spot of Punk slowly realizing, wait a sec, does he have supernatural powers? I think that's an easy story to tell and be quite a good one. Paul Bearer passes around this. And yeah, it ends with CM Punk pouring the ashes of Paul Bearer over the Undertaker.
Yeah.
The worked ashes.
Of course.
Not the shoot ashes.
No.
At the time, I was very much of the opinion and philosophy that just do whatever. Wrestling's wrestling. If you can turn something into heat, you use it. Like the whole Eddie promo with Ray and Randy Orton.
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
down there.
He's down there. And I always used to think, yeah, but would Eddie have preferred? Like, would Eddie have actually liked that? Like a lot of people love the business so much. Hey, if I die, definitely use me in a storyline.
That's what people have said about Percy Pringle.
Exactly. And you find fewer people who are like so dedicated to kayfabe and just use anything you can to get the heat going. So I was of that opinion back then. I think, and that was where sort of most people were.
I think most people were, yeah. I think people look back on it now and just wondered, like, because I believe the death of Paul Bearer, the death of Percy Pringle, elevates the build for this because they use it. I don't think they exploit it, but they use it so. I mean, it is.
They pour his ashes over the Undertaker,
but not like when I say
they play catch with the urn.
But when I'm saying exploiting, I mean against their will. Like if they'd have done this without any approval from people, or if the people that are close to him, and maybe they did or maybe they didn't. I don't know that.
You don't hear any reports of people being like, Undertaker wasn't uncomfortable about this. You don't hear that. Whereas you do get those reports around the Eddie line.
Yeah, of course. That's what I mean. So that's what I mean by that. I don't feel like they're exploiting the death. What I feel like is that they are using it to elevate the character of CM Punk and the mythos of The Undertaker, which then builds into a really tremendously great match out the back of it. Because this match is fantastic. And a lot of it is because Taker is this mythical being at WrestleMania and within WWE, but WrestleMania in particular. And CM Punk feels so much more like this brash young punk than if he was just, I'm the best in the world and I'm gonna end the Undertaker streak. Like when Taker comes out for the Paul Bearer tribute and Punk interrupts it and says, I'm so sorry for your loss at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That is good.
I will be the 1 in 2021. And then he takes the Undertaker's urn, he kidnaps the urn, and he's so clumsy with it, but it's like, and so he's like rolling it down his arm and stuff. And it's
cartoonish. It's definitely offensive.
It is.
But
but it is cartoon
funny.
in the same way that Zeb Coulter is this cartoonish parody of the Alex Jones types. This is a cartoonish, like, supervillain in a way. And he even has the line, and I love this line, I don't even have to pin you to win. If you get DQ'd, I win. And I'm the one who broke the streak. Like the streak is like, Taker's line, the streak may end, but you will never live to talk about it. I think it's so much great. That Heyman come out dressed as Paul Bearer and Punk was hidden within like the druids and stuff, pouring the ashes over it. I love the build for this, but I think what makes it even better is when they're doing the entrances. So the entrances are awesome, right?
Yeah,
but
one of the rare, great live musical performances at a Mania.
They actually cock up the start of it a little bit, which we'll play a clip of in a second. But when Punk's at ringside and he's got the urn and he's been like, woo, he throws it to Paul Heyman. And Heyman catches it and is like, oh my God, please be careful with this.
Yeah.
Heyman knows the severity of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But can't talk Punk out of what he's doing. So Punk's there being like, woo, and he just tosses it to him. And Heyman is taking it so seriously. He goes, oh, he doesn't want to drop this. But Punk doesn't care if he does. He's a punk.
Heyman's really good at that sort of stuff because it heightens the behavior of the person opposite him. He does it with Brock a lot, where you'd think, oh, Brock and Heyman, they're equally evil. But Brock will often go too far, and Heyman will be saying, stop, please, don't do it anymore. And you're like, wow, Brock's really gone too far there.
Yeah.
Even Heyman is being a sort of voice of morality. We're going to listen to Living Colour.
We do, yeah, because unfortunately, I don't quite know what happens here, but it feels like he just misses his cue of when to start the first line.
Oh, you're muted.
I'll pause it for a second while I find where my mouse is. There it is. Send it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome New York.
We all know how the song goes at this point. We all know when the first line comes in.
Blaze! Can you blaze?
He just slightly misses it. Just one more time.
Living Color.
That's so weird, isn't it?
It's
I don't
so-
know what he was trying to do.
No, but it just missed it. The maze! But it is then. From there
Yeah.
on, it is awesome. And Punk just feels like this awesome. And it's mad that this is his last WrestleMania wrestling until this year's WrestleMania. It is.
Yeah, because he was injured. Oh my God, good point for WrestleMania 40.
Yeah. So like WrestleMania 41 is his first WrestleMania as a wrestler since here at 29. And I absolutely love this Undertaker entrance. And he's just like completely silhouetted. And the souls reaching up that he's vanquished previously from WrestleMania past. It's so wonderful.
And you contrast that visual with Punk sitting in the ring, just cross-legged.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
I don't believe you.
Don't believe you. I just tossed the Interpol name in. This does not affect me. It does not bother me in the slightest.
You are not getting in my head like you have done for everyone else at WrestleMania.
Fun fact about Luke Owen. For years, I remember learning that Death Valley is a real place in America. I thought it was made up for The Undertaker. It sounds like it's a made-up place.
Yeah, it
like
does, yeah.
like parts unknown. He's from Death Valley. And then honestly, and I say years later, it's only about sort of 10 or so years ago I learned there was a real place. Maybe 15 years ago, because they used to film The Twilight Zone there.
It gets really hot.
Yes.
That's
There's
one of the things about it.
a story from the first series of The Twilight Zone where they were filming in Death Valley for like, because they used to use that as a lot of alien planets because it's just a vast desert. And someone got so hot that they were getting heat stroke. And the way to overcome the heat stroke is they downed a chocolate milkshake. And it made them very, very ill.
Slight detour. I heard about something yesterday called the rainbow milk. Have you ever heard about rainbow milk from the early 2010s? Apparently it was a challenge that teenage boys would do.
You're a teenage boy around this point.
What you'd do is you'd have a couple of 2-pinters of milk, 2-litre cartons of milk, a couple of friends, hopefully 7, and you would each put in a different colour of the rainbow dye into the milk. So you'd have each carton of milk would be a different colour of the rainbow. And then you all have to try and down it at the same time. And you would, the person who vomits last wins, but the projectile into the middle would create rainbow milk.
I mean, me and my mates, when we were teenagers, did used to go to the woods and do that. Like we would go there each with 4 pints of milk and down it and see which one was going to be the last one of us to throw up.
And this was a healthy childhood. Nowadays, it's Andrew Tate this, misogyny that.
In a pre-smartphone era, this is what you did.
We go down to a supermarket, car park, and we try and do Jackass. And our parents are saying, this is a terrible thing for humanity. No, it's fun.
It's fun.
Compared to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, and also, this pint of milk only cost me 60p.
And it's only hurting us, not the people around us.
I used to lose that challenge a lot. I actually don't think I ever won doing that challenge.
Sounds like a thing to put the championship on the line for.
Should we, though?
No.
I was going to say, I don't think you could hack that anymore. I certainly couldn't.
Okay, so this match.
Yeah.
What a match.
Oh, Punk is just not afraid, and I love it so, so much. And he just walks in and he just slaps Undertaker across the face. He is not threatened by him. And it's so different. You contrast this to what Triple H was doing and what Michaels was doing, what Edge and Batista were doing. It's a visual difference. And I love that. And this crowd is alive for the first time this show. And they are alive for this match.
And then Taker sort of dominates for a bit. He hits old school, but then Punk reverses old school and hits his own old school. The literal disrespect of the old school.
Yeah.
And he is the new school. It's so well done.
JBL has a great line on commentary where he said, because he had lots of matches with Taker, and he said, the reason why I am sat at commentary and not in that ring is because I had wars with The Undertaker. Yeah. Really puts over what The Undertaker means.
Heyman tries to get involved a lot. He stops Taker doing his big dive outside, but Taker gets Heyman by the throat, but Punk hits a flying lariat on him. And then a flying elbow near fall for something that no one buys. Because like at this moment in the match, everyone's like, oh, cool, it's Punk, it's Undertaker. We like these two. But no one believed Punk was winning.
No, I think the closest they come is when you have the urn spots.
Well,
Of
that's
when
it.
people-
But they managed to get people invested so much into the match.
Yeah.
Whereas at the end, you're like, maybe.
Yeah, when people went into both those Triple H matches, there was that would be very typical for Triple H to be the person to break the streak. With Punk, there was never a chance that Punk was going to be the one to break it.
Sean's career on the line, that there was a possibility there.
I think even less so with that one.
More than the Punk one.
Yeah, I think once you put like the career on the line stipulation, it very much cemented that Sean wasn't winning, and it also cemented that Triple H was going to win the match that comes up next. Punk, unfortunately, because he is now like wrapped up in his own egotistical, I'm on top here, tries to do old school again because he's like, it worked so well for me the first time. He can't stop me a second time. Taker does stop him and dicks him on the ropes. That's when Heyman stops him. We get Taker out of a GTS and into the chokeslam. Then Punk reverses the snake eyes move where you drop him in, you go off the boot with a drop kick of his own, his little leg lariat. It's so great.
The counters are really well thought out. It's a lot more of a modern style of match where it is back and forth.
And we get a tease of the last ride through the announce table, but Punk kicks him and then realizes that Taker is laid out on the announce table. So he gets to the ring, he goes up top to hit his Randy Savage elbow. And like Mick Foley at WrestleMania 2000, he floats like a stone and he just slams hard into the side of the announce table and it does not break.
Yeah, which, as you said earlier, is where he injured his knee.
Yeah, he hits it so hard. And then Taker gets back in at 9. Punk escapes the Hell's Gate and locks in the Anaconda Vice. And that's when you get the moment. Probably the moment that Punk realizes the mistake that he has made. When Taker just sits up out of it and just stares this hole in him while the hold is still on.
What's so good about this is it's also a near fall. So Punk has the Anaconda Vice in, Taker sort of tires, and his shoulders go on the mat. The referee counts 1, 2, and that's when you get the sit-up, angry face Taker straight into Punk's eyes because Punk's head is right next to Taker's in this hold. And he is so pissed off. I've never seen Undertaker this pissed off outside of a political rally.
and it's perfectly mirrored to Punk being so scared.
Yeah, he's terrified in that moment.
So scared. And you can hear in that moment, oh, I've made a mistake.
And he's still got the hold in.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I want to let go, but I can't let go.
We get some incredible sequence. The GTS gets reversed into a tombstone for this amazing near fall. It's so great. Ref bump and a Heyman distraction. Taker gets him up for the last ride. Heyman tosses the urn to Punk. Punk cracks him with the urn, which this whole feud has been built around. And Taker kicks out. What I love about this, and I've written here, I need to try and find this as a timestamp, even if it is all skew-if at this point. 2:16:55, because I love this near fall so much.
He doesn't hook the leg. He might have been able to beat him here, but he does Taker's pin.
So here is what's amazing about this. Is obviously watch the action in the ring, but watch the crowds. Because for me, when you see this crowd, this is what wrestling is all about. There's the crack of the urn. He gets rid of the evidence. And now folds the arms over, and you watch this crowd all stand up because they're like, this is it.
Such a good near fall.
You just watch a load of people all stand up in unison and lean in. That is pro wrestling right there. That is wrestling fans buying into what's happening in the ring, which you don't get in the subsequent 2 matches that follow this.
And it peaks at the right time. Like, that is the peak. And if that was a Triple H Brock Lesnar match, they'll go on for about 5 more minutes. But here, bunch of GTS tombstone reversals. Taker wins that battle, hits a tombstone. 1, 2, 3.
Absolute scenes. It is an incredible match.
Yeah, by far and away the best match on this card, and probably the one of the top matches in WWE this whole year.
I would say so. Alvarez makes this point. I haven't got it in the write-up for it because he goes on for quite a bit about it. But he says that Taker has had the best match for the last 6 WrestleManias, because both the Triple H matches, so this one, both the Triple H matches, both the Shawn matches, the Edge match, and the Batista match. That's something like 7 years on the bounce. He's just had the best match at WrestleMania.
Because it's got so much stakes and legacy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this has been theorized before, so apologies if it has. But you have the Michaels double bill at 25 and 26. You have the Triple H double bill at 27, 28. And then you get the Punk match, and then you get the Brock Lesnar match. And then you get the Bray match. No, yeah.
31 is Bray.
Bray.
31 is Bray, right? Yeah.
So those last few there feel disconnected. However, is the Punk Lesnar 29-30 actually the Paul Heyman double bill? And Paul Heyman is using this match to scout out The Undertaker. And that's what he uses to help Brock overcome Taker the following year.
Had Punk not left the company, they probably could have told that story. But Punk was persona non grata, so you weren't really going to be referencing him on TV. They weren't even really talking about the previous year's match.
I'm just more talking about a
kayfabe
retroactive
world. Yeah,
kayfabe because, of course, apparently the Taker losing decision was made on the day.
Yes.
So it's not like they planned that in advance at all either. But just as a nice little double bill.
It is a nice Heyman double bill as well. Because it's now doing Survival Series at this point. What's it at 32?
So you have
Is that the one where he skips?
Is he? Yeah, he's not at 32, is he? And then 33 is Roman, and then he loses to Roman and he retires.
Yeah.
And then he beats
sad striptease.
And then he beats Cena at 34. It's not very great after that, apart from the Boneyard match. Dave Meltzer would say, The Undertaker has clearly become the star of WrestleMania with the retirement of Shawn Michaels, and Punk worked great with him. I thought the match was really good, but the streak is now a lot bigger than any world title because it's built up so much and talked so much about. That gives Taker's match at Mania a sense of importance that nothing else in wrestling can match. This was an excellent match and ended up being the highlight of the show. I don't think it was quite as good as The Undertaker's last 4 Mania matches with Triple H and Michaels, but it still exceeded what anyone could have hoped for, 4.5 stars.
Yeah, not as good as the 4 for me.
Is
but,
that, do you agree with that?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
I
was
do.
trying to. I've been thinking about this over the weekend because I watched this match on Friday and I was just loving it so much. And I was trying to think, where do I rank it in that 5? Of the 2 Michaels and the 2. And I prefer this to at least the 26 match with Michaels.
Oh, wow.
I think this is better than the Michaels retirement match because I don't think that match is as good as the 25 match.
It's bottom of the 5 for me. Still love it, but I think
Yeah.
those other 4 are brilliant.
I think now, having watched certainly the 2 Triple H matches as part of this series, I would place this 3rd. I think I would have Michaels Taker at 25, then the Triple H Undertaker 2, if you include X7, then it's this, then the Hell in a Cell, and then the Michaels retirement.
Wow.
That's my personal rankings. And Alvarez would write, by far the highlight of the show was Punk versus Undertaker. I thought the match would be fine, but nothing special. I was wrong. Undertaker was a megastar on this show, and even though it was the one match on the show where realistically there was zero chance they were changing the finish, the fans still got more into it more than anything on the show so far. The story of some poor fool trying so hard to break the Undertaker streak, trying anything from enlisting a friend's help to clonking the dude with an urn supposedly containing Paul Bearer's ashes, yet failing in the end, is the best storyline in WWE and has led to Undertaker, a guy who wrestles like once a year, having the best and most heated match on the show year after year. We get a video for Mick Foley's new DVD for All Mankind, and then the next video for John Cena and The Rock. This one is actually focused about this is Cena's redemption. It's about him getting ready for WrestleMania and him training a lot and grunting and gurning.
So if you told me at the start of this whole series, through chronicling The Rock versus John Cena's feud in WWE, if you told me that they'd use at least 2 quotes associated with the Holocaust, I would be shocked. But we've already had that with the Never Again for Survivor Series, and the opening quote of this video package is "The secret of redemption lies in remembrance." And don't think it's attributed, but I looked it up. It's from it's a well-known Jewish saying, often attributed to the 18th century Hasidic rabbi Baal Shem Tov. And it emphasizes the importance of remembering past events to achieve redemption. It gained prominence in the context of the Holocaust, where the German president famously used the phrase in a speech on the 40th anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe, emphasizing the importance of remembering the atrocities of the past. I think they're just picking quotes they found in a quote book and say, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
But it's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those, like, if I had a nickel for every time, I'd only have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it's happened
weird.
twice.
Yeah, it's weird.
They then show Michelle Beadle in the crowd, CM Punk's friends.
Yeah.
She was asked recently, what happened, because they were very good friends. She actually told the story when Punk returned to WWE in November. She said, he and I used to be friends. We had a falling out. It was at one of their events. Triple H was taking me around and I was walking through and I saw Punk and I said, hey, fuckface. Which is my term of endearment for almost anyone that I love and think is a friend. Well, his girlfriend, now wife, took offense to that. She came up to me, got in my face. I thought she was kidding. I laughed. She wasn't kidding. It turned into a thing. Everyone made it a big deal. Triple H was mad at them, and then we stopped being friends. It is what it is, but I'll never forget it. It was such an awkwardly weird moment to be part of. I'm not going to lie, I thought she was kidding. I still do, and it's really that simple.
Wow. How weird.
Coming up next, if he loses, he retires, and no one believes it. It's Triple H versus Brock Lesnar.
Yes, so this is babyface Triple H is not the best Triple H.
Nope.
And particularly at this time when we didn't like him back then. This is pre-NXT Triple H. This is golden shovel stink Triple H. But I just want to go to the entrance. Now, you've already said that he gets hit by some of the dry ice, which is immensely cold and painful if it happens.
Burns you.
Burns you, yeah, ironically. But in his entrance, because there's so many green lights everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can't really see it yet. He's been hit.
Yeah. It's trying to
It
wipe
looks
it
like,
off.
yeah, he's trying to wipe it off. This bit here kind of looks like a blue light has been flashed on a room, and he's had a good time backstage.
Yeah, it's like Gordon Ramsay in Hotel Hell. It's just
Yeah.
going around this room. Oh my God, look at this one. It's filthy in here.
Playing Hell's Kitchen bingo. Yeah, he's vomited. He's pretend dry heaved into a bin.
Also, can I, if I may, if we saw on the screen, look how naff that is. His little shit castle Grayskull that he's got.
I love that this is the same one, I'm pretty sure, that he used last year. He thought, I'll use that again.
Yeah, it's really
Everyone
good.
loved it.
It's so cool though, isn't it? Yeah, so people, I will often say in the comments that my dislike of Triple H is, quote, so forced. I just don't buy it. This whole, when he's talking about, Lesnar broke his arm twice, and then he took out Vince McMahon with an F5, and Triple H was like, my career's over. I've got nothing else to fight for. And then I was lying next to my father-in-law as he was in a hospital, and I started to laugh, because now I had my reason. And the ass kicker is back. I'm like, what ass kicker? You're not an ass kicker.
You've famously hid behind factions as a heel Cowdy champion most of the time.
Exactly. I just don't buy badass Triple H. It's as unconvincing as when they tried to push him as the new Steve Austin.
Yes. And also, HBK's just here as well. I totally forgot he was involved in this match. He makes his entrance first, weirdly. So HBK comes out first, then Brock Lesnar, then Triple H.
Well, you got to get the star out.
Well, but it's like, surely Triple H should come out after HBK.
Yeah. Well, but he's the star here. You got to get this big, cool Castle Grayskull entrance. Yeah. The story of this match is not only the Triple H's career on Iron. The reason why is because Paul Heyman, sniveling heel Paul Heyman, had the contract that said they got to pick the stipulation. And the original choice was going to be that the winner of the match gets Stephanie McMahon. But really, that should be for the loser of the match because we've got to make Stephanie look awesome here. And Heyman then... Sorry?
Bad.
Well, no, because Stephanie gets her, she gets her revenge.
Oh,
on Paul
I see.
Heyman. But the actual reveal is it's going to be no holds barred, and Triple H's career is on the line. I've written in my notes here. I remember that being the moment I stopped caring.
Yes. And they did this all the time back then, putting careers on the line. And you're like, well, they're not going to get rid of Triple H. They're not going to make John Cena leave.
It's Vince Russo booking.
Yeah.
It's all the things that people have a go at Vince, correctly so, because Vince Russo ruined the retirement stipulation because all of a sudden everyone was putting their career on the line. You go back and watch TNA pay-per-views. Almost every other pay-per-view, someone is putting their career on the line. Sting did it all the time. Kurt Angle was doing it all the time. And Triple H did it a lot as well. And it is a stipulation that just no one buys into and no one believes. And I think this crowd are not hot for this. And part of that is potentially because it's cold. But they've just had to follow.
Triple H's tummy. That's boiling.
And they have to follow Taker. This is the second time now that Triple H has got to follow an awesome Taker match and can't do it. And this match here is so long and it's so boring.
24 minutes long. It is, yeah. And not a great deal happens. The best thing that happens is...
Is it the scream?
It's the scream. So, again, no idea where this happens. I think it's around here.
It's here, yeah.
So, but thankfully, Lesnar does still feel really different at this time. He's chucking people around with suplexes and stuff. He's got a ferocity that no one else has. Like how you mentioned the Shield move differently from other wrestlers at this time. Brock is just unpredictable carnage. So we're going to get this famous bit here.
Is it at this point here?
I'm pretty sure he's going to whip him into the table and it will cut back to Brock.
Yeah.
And he'll go... So Brock, Snake Eyes trips on the table. Still going. Maybe I should skip back a bit. Okay, let me skip forward 10 seconds.
Yeah, because I've got it. Because he puts him through the table.
But he's put him through the table. I was close.
Yeah.
Triple H has been put through the table, and we... It's that it's so high-pitched.
I know.
That's what makes it terrifying.
This is what the only thing people remember of this match is that 3-second scream that he lets out.
I remember that way more than HBK being there and taking an F5.
In a pre-Suplex City world, we get Suplex City, and the crowd are so quiet. Lesnar gets distracted by Shawn Michaels, and Triple H clotheslines him to the outside. I might just skip through a lot of this, we get the sledgehammer. He runs into an F5, and Triple H kicks out. So I've written here, like, Triple H kicks out of the F5. You compare the reaction to when Punk kicked out of the Tombstone, and it is night and day how less people are into this.
I will say, when Brock F5'd Shawn Michaels, that's like the biggest bump Shawn's taken in a couple of years. No one really reacted.
No.
That's a huge moment. But also, why are they doing that a few minutes into the match? That happens at minute 5 of a 25-minute match.
Yeah. Triple H, so we get the Kimura, and Triple H can't get the ropes because of the no-holds-barred stipulation. So he breaks the hold by pushing Lesnar into the corner. And then we get, they keep, locking in the Kimura. And they do it on a third time, and the crowd just do not pop at all. He powers out, hits a low blow, chairs Lesnar's arm. Triple H locks in a Kimura of his own because he's an ass kicker and he's had half an hour of UFC training. Heyman breaks that up by using a chair, or Heyman tries to, but Shawn Michaels stops him. The crowd start to get into this towards the end as they just start doing some high spots. Lesnar backdrops him onto the steps, but Triple H locks in the Kimura again. He backs him onto the steps a third time, and the crowd is less into that one than the others. Backdrops him again, but Triple H DDT'd him onto the stairs.
Yeah, it looks a bit clunky, but I can see what they were going for.
Yeah, the commentators completely miss it, and only see it in the replay when they get told. And then the sledgehammer to the face, pedigree on the steps, Triple H wins.
And Cole says Triple H's legendary career continues. I feel like all the big spots were the right big spots, but they weren't in the right places.
Can I tell you, so Meltzer's got such a fascinating write-up of this match, and it speaks to what you were just saying then. This was a weird match. On paper, reading it, it should read like a classic. It was laid out to be. But the crowd was so unbelievably dead for this until the very end. The match felt like it was flopping before your eyes. Some people blamed it on following the Undertaker finish, and there was something to that, and it was a hell of an argument for buffer matches. But even so, after 10 minutes, the crowd should be ready. These two guys are major stars. Their angles got over great, and it felt like a big match at Mania that the crowd just didn't care for. It was so funny watching it, because I was thinking, it reads like a 4.5-star classic, but watching it, it's so dead, and it wasn't working. 2.5 stars.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's what you just said then. It was just like, it feels like it should be, and it's kind of laid out to be an all-timer.
Well, I think Triple H has taken the wrong lesson from the previous 2 years of Undertaker matches. Particularly, the previous year's Undertaker match. And that is, he is not really the vehicle for the emotion. The emotion comes from Undertaker in the 27 match. And the emotion comes from Michaels in the 29 match. So weirdly, he's got Michaels here. Michaels should be the person who's like, should I get involved? I tried to get involved last time. I'm scared of Brock. I don't know if I can help Triple H. But there's no obstacle to that. He just runs in the opening third and gets laid out. Like that stuff should be held off and have some tension before it happens. Until the final sequences.
It's also mad to think, actually, thinking about it. The idea was Brock then is going to attack Rock on Raw to set up Brock versus Rock at WrestleMania 30, just coming off the loss to Triple H at WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, Brock gets his win back at Extreme Rules, is it? Or it's the next...
He's already beaten him.
No, but in the trilogy,
right, okay.
Brock wins 2 and Triple H wins 1. But Triple H, being the smart guy, he won the one at WrestleMania. That's seen as the feud ender.
The one that everyone remembers, I didn't actually talk about this as well, or I forgot to, and someone pointed out in the comments on our Patreon video. I do apologize to who left this. I should have got your name. But they noted when we did our Royal Rumble review, do you know what they were watching before the Royal Rumble? They were watching Bret Hart do an interview with WrestleTalk TV where he said that Triple H was a 4 out of 10.
That was our first ever viral video. That's actually before my time.
Yeah. That was 2013. Again, you want to talk about iconic moments from this period of time. Bret Hart, 4 out of 10, that still holds up to this day. People say Triple H 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
We then get the Hall of Fame. It's a hell of a lineup this year.
Probably one of the strongest classes of all time.
Yeah, it's Mick Foley, Trish Stratus, Bob Backlund, Booker T, Donald Trump, and Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah, you got a bit of everything there. Donald Trump is one of the biggest celebrities and now politicians you can have. Bruno Sammartino, one of the biggest historic names, maybe even the biggest. Trish Stratus, one of the biggest names of the Attitude Era. Bob Backlund, one of the longest running champions in history. Mick Foley, huge Attitude Era star, and Booker T, like Mr. WCW near the end. So yeah, huge. And Arnie's inducting Bruno.
Yeah, it's a really it is massive, and it leads us into the main event.
Oh, sorry, could I just say one thing about Trish?
Please, yeah.
Because this was everyone. There was a mixture of whether you found it funny or disrespectful. But in her induction speech this year, she thanked her wonderful husband and the crowd booed. Because this was one of the first years that it was the Hall of Fame with the big fan, like all the fans got tickets as well.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing like people say, maybe we shouldn't have opened it up to the fans. Like, fair. Actually.
Yeah, that is fair, yeah. And yeah, with no fanfare or anything, because we've had all the video packages throughout the show. It's just like they cut to the crowd, like after they announced the attendance of 80,676.
Alleged.
It's Rock versus John Cena.
They don't even get special entrances.
No.
Like the previous year, John Cena had that full-on video package. Rock got like 4 different people playing him down to the ring. Here it's just... Yeah, it's just a normal entrance.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. Speaking of weird, I just don't understand how John Cena runs. It's the weirdest thing. I'm going to see if I can find it without given our weird timestamps we've got here. So I've got 3:10:47.
I think you used the little thumbnails as a guide.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Let's see. There is with Let's just go to a Cena entrance here. Look at that dreadful yellow shirt as well.
It's how it doesn't go well with the jorts colour.
Yeah, his camo jorts.
Yeah.
God, it is hideous, isn't it?
Is this, so his legs are going to sort of skittle out to the
Yeah.
sides, aren't they?
Why does he run like this? Watch him go. Oh no, he's got to stop. Sorry, I've got to do a little
He's got to
pose.
say hi to the camera guy. Cold out there tonight. That's not how you salute.
Here we go. I don't understand how it works.
Yeah. He's a mystery. I think he's been created as a robot form.
I think what happened there is he started running too quickly and then realized I need to slow down because I'm going to get to the ring too soon. And so he's trying to slow himself down, but he started off so hot.
Yeah.
Unlike this match. Hey!
Oh, Luke's got him too. This is it's significantly pulled back presentation-wise from the previous year.
There's also someone in the front row who's got a sign that says, "Please turn heel, Cena." And I've written him in 12 years time, mate. You're gonna get your wish. Just hang on. Just hang on. You'll get your wish.
But when The Rock comes out as well, you remember the previous year, that was electric. People were like, yeah, come on, beat Cena. But then The Rock comes out here, and everyone is into The Rock being there, but it is like 60% of what it had been.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it's that idea that, oh yeah, we want The Rock back, or we want Goldberg back, or we want this former star back. Yay, we love them. They're part of our childhood. And it looks like they can still go. But we don't want them holding the championship.
Yeah. This does have a lower buy rate than the previous year, because usually you don't get the same return the second time around. It's still over 1 million buys, which is better than what they did for 26. But yeah, this is lower than what they did the previous year, and it was seen as a bit of a disappointment.
Well, I'm not surprised though, because first off, the story they're telling us is that Cena has had this terrible year, which none of us buy because it's false. But then what's the rest of the story? Where's the animosity with The Rock? What's The Rock's story here?
Yeah, well, that's it, because The Rock is
The Rock doesn't get a motivation.
The Rock's not doing all the stuff he was doing in 27 and 28, the whole Fruity Pebbles, you're I'm for the men and you're for the children. And they're not doing that anymore. He's it's all, since the actual match at 28, it's all just been about respect and, it's the specialness of the fact that we're in the ring together. That's the story of this match. And wow, we're doing it again. We thought it was only once, but it's actually twice in a lifetime.
It's not good enough. And it all feels quite predictable, because then you're like, well, if The Rock's not really got a story, he's probably losing to the guy who's got the massive supposed year-long story.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Royal Rumble 2013, I was overwhelmed by the crushing weight of inevitability. I started off that year knowing that it is going to be Cena versus Rock 2 at WrestleMania. And I was just watching that show being like, well, yeah, this is what it is. I can get excited about the Shield. I can get excited about Punk being champion. I can get excited about all these other new things that are happening down in NXT, which my mate was, was talking about. But it's none of it actually truly matters, because it's always just going to come back to John Cena. And who's champion in the summer? It's Randy Orton. And it's just, nothing changes.
And the actual match here, it is, again, Cena working over Rock, which looks terrible. It's a Cena headlock, and then another headlock, and then the Rock counters with a sleeper hold. And this is when I thought, oh, Rock must have got injured, in the first few moves, so they're figuring out what to do. And that's when I read the interview, and it says, no, he gets injured in the last 3-4 minutes of the match.
So yeah, this is what I'm trying to work out where it is, because Meltzer says that it's about 10 minutes into the match when he takes the first AA. And I don't think it is. I've watched this match twice now. I watched it again this morning to double check my notes and everything. And he doesn't look like he gets hurt there. So the story that people have is the reason why this one is inferior to the first one, which in itself isn't very good, is because Rock's doing it hurt. I don't think actually is true. I just think it's a bad match and Rock gets hurt at the end of it.
Yeah, and there's no excuse for it being so plodding. And lacking intensity.
And I can tell you what happens for the rest of this match. We could go through it beat by beat, but basically it is AA attempts, rock bottom attempts, STF attempts, sharpshooter attempts, heels elbow attempts, and that is it. Sometimes they hit them, sometimes they don't. If they hit them, they kick out. If they don't, it's reversed into one of the other 5 moves I just laid out then.
It gets slightly better near the end, but we didn't talk about the Punk Cena match on Raw
Which
in the
is
build to this.
great.
So you're like, well, Punk had these 2 really good matches with Rock at Rumble and Elimination Chamber. And then, as they always do, the Royal Rumble winner Cena or the Money in the Bank winner Cena stupidly puts his shot on the line in a match against someone. And it's this match against Punk on Raw. And Punk says, actually, that's my favorite match I ever had with John. And it's an incredible match. And it is back and forth. And it's intense. And that's the one with the pile driver. It's a brilliant match.
So good.
And you're like, well, obviously Punk was such a big part of making these guys watchable in a modern sense. Why isn't he in this match?
Yeah, because that's what he's himself had said that that's all he wants to do was be part of this match and then be a triple threat match. And he says in The Art of Wrestling that no one's allowed to listen to anymore that, it's make it an elimination match and eliminate me in 5 minutes. All I wanted to do was be part of the main event, which I don't buy at all. But he, much like Luke Harper in the Bray Wyatt Randy Orton match, he is part of this story and should have been in this match. And I think it would have elevated this match somewhat.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it really is just they attempt to hit their moves. Sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do. And then I think this is where the injury comes, which is towards the end of the match, which is when Cena hits the rock bottom. And as where I think I'm going to have my smoking gun as well. See if I can find it. I've got have I got a timestamp for it? Yeah, so you'll.
Yeah, it does feel like finisher spamming a lot.
Oh, it's, yeah.
There's some weird bits as well. Like Cena doesn't set up an AA in any way. Like he should be selling and then pops up and then hits an AA. But it's like he's going through it at half speed. We get the ugliest leg drop known to man when Cena jumps off the top rope.
Oh man, it's hideous. Actually, I mean, I think the one he did on the Raw match with Punk was more hideous in terms of actually landing on someone. Is it here when he starts doing his comeback?
Get 2 rock bottoms and a kick out.
I've got here. Rock goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle. Cena hits an AA for a near fall.
There is a really good bit where the Rock goes for the people's elbow and Cena changes it into a 5-knuckle shuffle. And then Cena also cuts him off with this sort of running AA, which is really good. And that was everyone pops so well at how well that was executed. Oh, here we go.
Here it is. I found it.
Yeah.
Amazingly. So this is where I think the injury does happen.
Yeah, watch the Rock after the pin.
Yeah, yes.
So Rock kicks out.
And then he checks, and you can see it more in the replay as well.
But this is the classic Cena GIF reaction face. What? No?
Yeah. He rolls and he checks his back.
Yeah. And that is what The Rock has said in interviews. It was off the Cena rock bottom.
Can I tell you, and I'll give you this interview quote, because he did this with the Pat McAfee show last year. About 10 minutes into the match, I take a rock bottom, which is my finisher.
Team bottom.
Which he gives me about 10 minutes into the match, and I go up extra high. I start to turn and I over-rotate. He drives me down to the mat, and I feel this makes a thumping sound, and I don't know what it is. And I'm laying there as 85,000 people in New York, and I'm like, damn, what just happened? I thought a bone came through my skin. You could see in the match, I just put my hand down my trunks a little bit just to check it out. All right, here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen? So there's no bone. And I'm like, man, something happened. I don't know what it is. I get up. Now I start to get numb from the waist down. And I can't feel anything. And I say, the referee says, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I think I'm okay. I asked the ref, how much time do we have left? And he goes, 25 to 30 minutes?
No. What, this match was meant to be longer?
No. It's like, I think Rock has got caught up in his own Hoganisms here. It's what you sort of refer to in the wrestling world, where someone has told a story so many times incorrectly that has now become their version of reality.
Yeah.
Andre wasn't going to go up for the body slam at WrestleMania 3. We didn't even know if he was going to show up at the building. We had to screw Bret at Survivor Series 97. He's going to show up on Nitro the next night with the belt. So Rock now just believes that he wrestled this match for 25 minutes with the hernia, and it is literally 3.5. And people can
Still
just
horrible.
people can just go and watch the match and see that that's what actually happened.
Yeah, but only a small minority of people will watch the match.
I don't think The Rock's actually gone back and watched this match.
No,
Because why would he? He doesn't need to.
it's not very good.
Well, there's that as well. My favorite bit of this whole match is when Cena does the people's elbow, the actual finish, and he stops himself at the ropes, playing off the finish of last year.
Yeah.
Counter of the Rock bottom and the attitude adjust, and then Rock hits the DDT. Rock sets up for the Rock bottom, but Cena hits the AA and wins. That's it. It's a flat finish.
I thought those final few bits were quite good.
I would say this final few minutes were the same as the previous 12 minutes.
I've got in my notes here. Granted, this is copy and pasted from Google's AI results thing.
The Rock is custard.
WWE had considered turning Cena heel after his WrestleMania 28 loss to The Rock,
Okay.
potentially using his string of defeats to fuel a change in character.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong then. I'm very happy to be so.
So this could have been a heel Cena going against The Rock
And then you just turn
to dominate a new heel champion.
And then just
Whitney?
The Chris Van Vliet interview he did, he said it was around Rock Cena 1.
I thought it was, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe there was more than one time where they were considering.
No, I trust Van Vliet rather than the Google, the little bit at the top.
It's just AI being wrong again and taking information from websites and not really understanding it. Can I tell you a quick quote actually?
No.
From my research about the pile driver from that Rock match.
The Cena Punk match, yeah.
So in 2020, this is before Punk came back to wrestling. He did like a Ask Punk on Twitter. So on September 10th, 2020, someone asked him, did you get any heat backstage for doing the pile driver? And he said, I mean, people were mad, but if you really think about it, they're big babies.
It's almost like doing a move that's considered dangerous and real glass, maybe.
Now he's back home.
Yeah.
And he loves it there. He's on Stephanie's Places. Dave Meltzer would say, and after the match, they shake hands and it gets booed.
I do feel like you could have made it more definitive, considering this is the end of this 3-year-long feud. Like, why not do 3 AAs? So hit 1 AA.
They've already done 4 in the match.
So what? But all in a row, like Rock beating Austin.
Okay, right.
It was the 3 Rock bottoms that did Austin in, as sort of a mark of respect and to really draw a line under it. But no, it's just that. It almost seems like you're building another match because it wasn't fully definitive. It's like, oh, you both won 1 each. This is the finish to a match that builds a 3rd definitive rubber match.
Yeah. But yeah, they shake hands, it gets booed. Cena offers up the ring to The Rock, and then The Rock goes up and they pose on the stage, do the passing of the torch. And he even does Cena's little funny salute to him.
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer writes, the fireworks went off and the two of them standing there with the idea of it being a big WrestleMania moment, but the crowd was booing it. 3.5 stars.
Ava is in the front row when
Is
Rock
she
walks
really?
out. Yep, he says hi to his mum and, of course, Betty Scarland, the widow of the late, great Arnold Scarland, who has appeared in so many of these shows now, and Cena always says hi to her. But yeah, Ava's there. An 11-year-old Ava.
What's also interesting as well about this, talking about The Rock, because he gets injured here, and this has ramifications for the Hercules movie that he's doing with Brett Ratner, of all people, is that he will tell the story now that he did that movie and he didn't get surgery. But he, in interviews at the time, was saying, I'm getting surgery. I'm having surgery next week.
Maybe he was, and maybe he decided actually it's going to... They do a scan and they're like, actually, it's going to be a bit more longer of a recovery than you'd think, and that will push the movie back even more. So he's like, okay, I won't do it. I'll film the film.
Should note as well, when people talk about, is it just reported speculation it was Brock and Rock? Rock said in interviews, the plan was going to be me versus Brock.
Wow.
He talks about in these interviews saying like, I got hurt in this match and it's affecting Hercules. I was supposed to do an angle with Brock Lesnar. Have I got the quote here? Yeah, the next thing that made sense to me, because I love Brock. We've been friends for over a decade now. We could have had a great athletic match. So that was the plan, but I tore 2 tendons off my pelvis. I had to fly home that day, so we couldn't do what we wanted to do at Raw that day. So possibly Brock down the road. And so he was potentially his next match.
Until Hollywood said, nah,
Yes.
can't do both, buddy.
Yeah, he said all the stories about him that came out about him being mad and walking out, the injury not being real, were ridiculous. He said Vince McMahon, Triple H, Punk, and Cena all knew he was hurt after the match and that he was checked out for a hernia by doctors on the 7th and that he would not be at Raw the next day. We're told by those in WWE that Vince was aware of the injury on Sunday night but didn't know for sure he wouldn't be at TV until Monday morning. The story that Rock walked out of the building telling Vince was never the case. But they were scrambling to change the television show on Monday afternoon since the key segment of the show was to do the Rock Lesnar angle. The idea there was a falling out between the two sides was a story that took a life on its own, but partially because very few of the wrestlers and the company personnel were aware that Rock was hurt after the match on Sunday.
He hit it very well.
Very few people were told of the injury, although at the same time, I can say the same for Punk's knee injury since few were told about that one as well. Then Johnson wasn't at TV as advertised, so speculation ran rampant, but there were some of the really bad stories being made up out of thin air on this one. He also missed the premiere of Pain and Gain because he was having surgery the next morning.
So he did have surgery.
Director Michael Bay made a remark about it, saying E! News, quote, "He was pushing it too hard. He needs to grow up and stop wrestling 300-pound men."
Michael Bay said that.
Yeah, Michael Bay, of all people, said he needs to grow up. This is a key note. Because of the injuries, there will likely be more pressure from studios on him not to wrestle. Michael Bay, I then was reading weeks after, Michael Bay then had to clarify his points. Michael Bay said that what he said about Dwayne Johnson wrestling last week was meant as a joke. Later writing, "Wrestling fans, it was a joke said on Entertainment Tonight. You can see the clip for yourselves. The most important person to see the on-air joke was Dwayne. I love seeing The Rock wrestle. I hope he wrestles for 10 more years. I joked on air because Dwayne was not at our LA premiere due to his injury." Because wrestling
I can
fans
see how that was
really got onto him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this basically pushes back Hercules. So I've got this from the Toronto Sun. It's understood these days that wrestling has plot lines, i.e. it's scripted, but the punishment is often real, as Johnson discovered when he walked into his doctor's office to hear that he'd torn his abductor and rectus muscles practically right off the hip. His choices, surgery and a year of physio, or cross your fingers and trust the shreds of tendon reattached with scar tissue via physiotherapy. Quote, "I told the doctor I have a movie shoot in 6 weeks. He said, does it involve a lot of physical activity? I said, it's Hercules. So yeah." Faced with a similarly torn quad tendon, I took the surgery, but I'm not Dwayne Johnson, and there's a literal cast of thousands waiting in Budapest for me to start work. Because it was such a big movie, the crew had to be there 4 to 6 months already, prepping, building these massive sets. And in the entertainment business, if you push a project of that magnitude, the likelihood of it coming back with the same cinematographer, the same director, Brett Ratner would be fine, the same players, it's slim to none. So I wanted to keep everything intact. I called Brett Ratner and said, "I'm walking with a limp. Let's see where I am in 6 weeks." Then, as his muscles were being assessed, a lump was found in his abdomen. Back to the doctor. I dropped trout and the doctor said, "Wow, that's one big hernia." In fact, while operating, surgeons found 3 hernias. I called MGM and they had to push the movie by 2 weeks, which was $1 million a week.
Damn.
And
I thought it'd be more, to be honest. But yeah, wow.
And so, yeah, from then on, The Rock cannot wrestle and be a movie star. And it's now become a standard within the Hollywood system that you can't, if you're a wrestler coming in, you can't do both. This match changed everything. It's wild. But that is WrestleMania 29. What did you make of it?
One match show. Pretty boring overall. I cannot wait to do WrestleMania 32. What about you? What did you think?
Yeah, it's not a great show. Like, the Punk Taker match is so great,
Yeah.
but of the 3 main events, only 1/3 of them actually deliver, and the rest of the show is either middling or boring. It is not a good WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Thankfully, 30 is amazing. Do we want to announce what we're doing as our next one?
Yeah, let's get people excited. Starting in the next month.
Next month, our next plot arc that we're going to be doing is the Nexus.
Oh, why do we do this to ourselves?
On the 15th anniversary of the Nexus.
Yeah, well, it's we've sort of done 2014 in WWE with the breakup of the Shield. We did 2011 through to 2013 here with the Rock Cena thing. So we get to do 2010.
Yeah, and we get to kick it off with reviewing an episode of Raw from 2010 as John Cena.
2 hours.
with the Nexus debut. We've then got Money in the Bank 2010. We've got the SummerSlam 2010 match, the Bragging Rights 2010 pay-per-view.
God, it gets so bad.
We have got all of the Wade Barrett, Randy Orton stuff. We've got Cena being fired. We've got Matt Stryker on commentary. He's marking out, bro.
No.
That's going to be starting next month here on WrestleTalk, and I cannot wait to revisit it.
But for right now, go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk because you can watch us review all 4 hours, 45 minutes of WrestleMania 32.
49 minutes. Yeah, head on over to WrestleTalk.com/Patreon as we're, sorry.
Other way around.
Other way around. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. We review that right now. It's probably going to be a long one, so strap yourself in, folks. Till then, we'll see you next time.